The footy world is well and truly on the Max Gawn bandwagon, but the big fella is more than just a cult figure and more than your typical ruckman. Today, his Demons have a massive challenge. The Sydney Swans at a very, very wet SCG. This has not been a friendly venue for the Demons. They haven't won here, Dermot Brereton, in more than a decade, and it's going to be challenging today because we're going to get more than 30 mils of rain potentially. Welcome to you, mate.
Thank you, Anthony. Well, in the battle between Melbourne and Sydney, Melbourne have got one up today already. It's meant to be beautiful down there. Here, it's not exactly dry and dusty. It's a little murky and damp.
Well, the Demons have been terrific, though, haven't they? And
yes.
They take on the Sydney Swans with an unchanged lineup. They were so good against Collingwood, and they're very settled.
Well, it's symbolic of how they're going at the moment. They're happy with what they're putting out there. A few weeks ago, they brought the kid Petrarca in, and he's been nothing short of sensational. Vince has been wonderful. Vine, he's been a wonderful leader as well. Cross over to Sydney now. And look, they've got a few injuries creeping in, but they are still littered with superstars. Look at that midfield. McVeigh, Kennedy, Jack, Parker. They're all there. And then they've got the big bloke up forward, Franklin, and he's been supported now by an emerging star, Isaac Heaney.
But 4 changes for Sydney. Of course, no Kurt Tippett, and it's a big challenge for Callum Sinclair and Toby Nankervis. Now, this is why it's such an important game. Sydney in 4th could jump to 2nd, and Melbourne almost the lone challenger now to the 8th.
Well, with Port Adelaide getting knocked over yesterday, so Melbourne are the challenger, so we want the 8 to keep alive for as long as possible. And look, they're really just trying to bank wins at this stage of the season, so we want the last month of the year to be alive.
Well, one of the great stories in footy is milestones, and certainly when it's someone like Heath Grundy, not your spectacular player by any means, started as a forward who kicked 3 goals on debut back in 2006. But here he is, despite some criticism over the journey, fronting up for game 200, and he's got a massive challenge against that man, Jesse Hogan.
Well done to Grundy. He's a beautiful reader of the play. I thought he might have been struggling a little bit last year, but he predicts where the ball is going very, very well. Jesse Hogan last week, very good once again, but still has a couple of elements in his game. We look at this one. He's looking for the miracle pass. Now, watch what he does with his gesturing. I want it longer. I want it over the top. Now, to get that, Jesse, you're asking him to kick it 66 metres on the fly, lace out. You have to understand your teammates and recognise how difficult their job is, because when you do your job right, you do this. You charge at the ball. You're excellent at winning the ball above head. He's got a wonderful set of hands, and when he does this, he's nearly impossible to stop.
So Melbourne coming off a win, the Swans coming off a loss to GWS. A big load carried by this man. He's not your normal ruckman. He kicked 3 goals last week, had 27 disposals. He's what you call a very colourful footballer, and we can't wait for him in action next here from the SCG.
Let's take him back.
I'm getting into too much ruckcraft. You guys wouldn't know much about that.
Don't start talking about ruckcraft.
You should have seen the stare down that I got from umpire Nichols there. He was not happy about it. Can't really talk when I've got the ball. I'm not very good at multitasking there, Dermy. Sometimes I struggle to get jeans that fit me, so I go for that little hipster look with the ankles out. Apart from that, I reckon I'm pretty normal. I don't know what he's talking about.
Max has got 3.
So the Demons hit the sodden turf of the SCG. They are the main challenger at the moment after Port Adelaide's loss yesterday to the 8, but different challenges today, not just the Swans, and an imposing record that they hold over the Demons. It's this weather as well, huge amount of water, something that Melbourne haven't really had to experience too much this year. The Swans, on the other hand, only a couple of weeks ago experienced it up against the Gold Coast. But Tony Shaw, great to have you with us. And you'd have to say the Demons have been one of the really good stories so far of season 2016, led by Paul Roos in his last year.
Well, they have, and I think 12 months ago, if you said that they're going to be the 5th highest scoring side in the competition, people would have laughed at you, Hutto. So well done to Paul and Simon Goodwin. But both these sides, it's going to see who adjusts the best to the conditions here. Not a great day for key forwards, but you're going to have to do it at ground level.
It's been a very good list construction, hasn't it? We just see pictures of Thomas Bugg, Dom Tyson there from GWS as well, been valuable additions.
Of course, it's been led by Paul Roos, as we said, in his last year as the coach of Melbourne, and no stranger to the SCG, a premiership-winning coach with the Swans, and the man who was his skipper, Barry Hall.
Roosie, we're terrible conditions. We've got 30 mils of rain coming, but just important for players to adapt quick.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we played in the conditions a couple of weeks ago and so did they. So it's
probably not going to be as big a concern. But the territory battle's important, isn't it? Getting in your forward line nice and quick.
Maxi Gawn important last week, super important today, particularly with these conditions. SCG, the Swans, need first use of the footy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, their mids are really, really good. Look, Sinclair hasn't played a lot in the ruck, but he was brought over here as their ruckman, so he's quite competent. So that's going to be an important battle.
There's a bloke you're coaching against today, Heath Grundy, playing his 200th game. You come to the club with one eyebrow and as a forward, and now he's one of the premier backmen in the competition. A really good story.
Yeah, it is a good story. He came as a forward, struggled a bit early, didn't he? But look, he's become a premier defender and terrific. Yeah, congratulations. You're a terrific bloke as well.
Good luck in the other rain.
Thanks, mate.
Extra special insights there from Barry on Heath
One
Grundy.
eyebrow.
But of course, still no Ted Richards. Alir is back in the team today, so he will really have to lead that defence. And it's the face of their defence is changing a bit, as is the Melbourne lineup.
No doubt about that, but they're settled for the for this week as well, Shorey. They haven't made any additions. Isn't it amazing? Young Viney, who's the co-captain or will be co-captain, he'll be up there very, very soon. He now becomes a pivotal player on ground, and he's still only in his second or third season. And that man there, as a key forward, a lot of key forwards hate wet weather. He doesn't mind it at all, because he does get a lot of the ball off the deck, and he does like to push and shove and mark it on his chest. Josh Kennedy sneaked ahead of him with 5 goals yesterday. Lance has still had 10 more shots at goal than Josh Kennedy, so he gets the kicking boots on. He's going to get the skates on.
Sitting on 749 goals as we speak.
Well, if he gets his man up the ground, he loves to turn him around too, so if he gets some space behind, that's what he can do. And we can see Nate Jones just won the toss.
And up against his brother for the first time, Zach Jones as well, so we'll look out for that through the afternoon. The impact of no Tippett, boys. Obviously, Kel Sinclair has to step up. Toby Nankervis gets his second chance for the year.
Yeah, I'm just a bit worried about having 2 ruckmen, even though Tippett's out. Do you need 2 ruckmen? Could they go with a medium sizer to do some of the work and then maybe get more possession around the ground? So they've gone that way, but Callum Sinclair, he gets his opportunity.
They probably feel like they need the height in the forward line. Or you think on a day like today,
Well, that's Gawn. That's Gawn's influence.
Well,
Gawn's
Collingwood
been
did it.
so good around the ground and feeding his smaller players. That's Gawn's great form that's forced them to go in with a second ruckman.
But Collingwood went with 3 ruckmen 2 weeks ago, last week, and it didn't work against Maxi Gawn. A different type of day, though.
One too many.
One too many.
Yeah, that's for sure. Max Gawn, 3 goals himself and 27 disposals. Viney, of course, coming back after that broken hand. Still had high possessions last week. I wonder if Mitchell will go to whether John Longmire will send Tom Mitchell onto Viney. Doesn't look like he's going to at the start, because he's starting out of the square, Tom Mitchell.
I tell you, the man I would tag is Bernie Vince. He's the one who gets behind play. He plays off half back. No one mans him up, and he just racks them up week in, week out.
And of course, last week, Bernie Vince, career best 42 disposals, including 25 kicks. Tom Mitchell's been outstanding for them this season. So that's all ahead of us.
The Swans aren't exactly hiding their hand here. Parker straight into the middle. Tough in and under player along with Kennedy and Jack.
Been down a bit of late, Luke Parker. Only 13 disposals last week. Thomas Bug looking to rough him up. It's one of the standout games of the weekend. And we are underway at the SCG. Callum Sinclair with a big swipe down against Max Gawn. Nathan Jones used to be well suited to these conditions. And Jack Watts coming out. Mills as his escort. He shook off the first tackle, not the second. Dawes has made a bit of difference structurally to Melbourne over the last couple of weeks as well. Viney, you'd think he'd thrive as well in the wet. Watts is a positive start from the Demons. Kent's been excellent this year. And he's opposed to McVeigh, which shows the respect that they're giving him right now. And we're going to see a lot of this. Try and dig it out. The way it went from Kent. Here's Kennedy. First of many, you would suspect. He was slow to start last week, Josh Kennedy, but tried to lead them back. Frost looks like he's found his position in defence for Melbourne over the past fortnight. Alir comes in to try and spoil. Viney tried to go off the ground. Tyson, Bug.
You mentioned Frost in defence. He was starting next to Mitchell, and the pace aspect won't bother him. He's doing a slider over now. Yeah, he's going to pick up Gary Rowan, because he does have really good pace. Rowan obviously has good pace.
Gawn took front position. Sinclair was able to equal the battle. Lloyd, he's been able to get plenty of possessions. Nick Smith, ever reliable, and just waited as long as he could to get the clearing kick and make sure he could find his teammate. Dean Towers back in the team. Drives to half forward. Rowan tried to nudge to the front. Good defiance from Frost. Jetta found himself surrounded by red and blue jumpers. And the Swans all over the top.
Well, that's the one thing you don't want. It's all right for Melbourne. Swans, when you get in your forward line, you don't want stoppages. You want to keep the momentum of the ball going towards goal. Might be a lot of goals kicked off the ground today.
Good tap.
To Jones, and that gains them 35 metres. Dawes and Alia.
That's a real tap out to advantage. A lot of times we see statistics that, you know, can mean a little bit of, watch this, to the outside. He knew Jones was going there. He heard the call. That's a dominant display of tap work.
He gets the tap again, but it's smashed back by Kennedy. Just reaching down, and Curvis was clever enough to the advantage of Parker. Rowan out to meet it strongly. Now Vince trying to work the handball to Wagner, but difficult terrain to try and work your way through. As the numbers multiply, a scrambler closer. Franklin with his first sniff. Mitchell screwing it back. Now Hogan has gone down to defence to help out just for reinforcement. And he's got Watts on the move, who started in a positive fashion. Was happy enough to take the chest mark. His teammates further afield say, just kick it. Plan it as deep as you can. Unfortunately, they weren't on the same wavelength. Alia, though, with the fumble, allows Bug in. Big opportunity, Demons. One step ahead of them was McVeigh. Was able to read the play.
He's a lot better than that, Tom Bug, with his foot skills. I know it's wet and I know it's sloppy, but you've just got to get the ball airborne in that situation.
Rain started here this morning just about 11 o'clock and has just got stronger and steadier as the day's gone on, and the radar, as we showed you, doesn't look like there's going to be a break for quite a long time. Here's an update, Derm.
Good. The yellow stuff is what we're trying to avoid. That's heavier, and if it gets red, batten down the hatches.
Unfortunately, it's had a big effect on the amount of people that have come to watch this game, which, with Melbourne in form and Sydney needing to bounce back from last week, a tantalising prospect. It's going to be hard going, but the Swans, you think, have the players in the midfield that can thrive in these conditions. Parker and Kennedy, Jack, McVeigh, those sort of players. Wagner. His brother made his debut on Friday night for North Melbourne. Mills, the ball fisted out of there. Viney sends it deeper and scrambling it, and that's a terrific result for the D's.
Yeah, that's a great result there. It's nearly like a point just to keep the ball in. You want the ball in the area. It's better than the point, I would think, to try and get every goal's going to be worth about 4, I think, today.
The reason we've got inside 50s going 6-1 in favour of Melbourne is that they've won the contested possession count 12-4 already.
No chances with little handballs out of defence for the Swans. Instead, it's one handball and then the kick, although the kick smothered. Kennedy has to go and try and retrieve the situation. Wasn't able to do that. And Jones to Tyson. The Demons trying to pounce on this opportunity they have. Again, just extremely difficult to do anything more than just gain some ground, which McDonald was able to do. And they're closer to goal. Still without a goal in this match after 5 minutes. Gawn, front, slapped it away. Jones. Kent, McVeigh, Hanbury. Dawes. Petrarca turned it on last week, the young man. And that's almost as good as his terrific spin and goal last week. In these conditions, to be able to cobble together that sort of kick shows the class of the young man.
Gee, that was power. Look at the players off the back of the pack from Melbourne there. Well organised. It's going to be a hard road to try and get through that for the Sydney Swans. It wears you down. That is a powerful kick off one step to get so much height on that Derm, and the distance.
And he undercut it as well. He got the backspin on it. But even from here, did you hear the ka-thump on the ball? But he's a powerful kid, this lad.
What a talent. Christian Petrarca. The degree of difficulty in that shot was very high, and Melbourne have made an excellent start here, both in terms of controlling the ball. Now they have a goal on a day when they're going to be hard to come by. Oliver servicing some more of his players. Bug chips it up. Try to take the chest mark that time, Petrarca. Trengove has returned over the past fortnight. Kicked a goal last week, which was most welcome. Tyson back to the square. Hogan in front. Oh, he was happy to try and let it go through, but Grundy certainly didn't share those same sentiments. And he's able to clear it to Rose.
So good in that situation, isn't he, Grundy? He's just such a wonderful body player. Barry Hall, I know you're soaking wet, but we're going to make you speak. You would have done a bit of one-on-one work with him at training over the years. He's a really good...
I was about to say to him, he's very, very strong one-on-one, particularly through the hips. He's really thick through the hips. He's a very hard man to move. You don't want to go one-on-one too much with Heath Grundy.
Towers up towards half forward. Then Curvis again willing to fly. Tries to scramble for it at ground level. Bernie Vince squeezes a kick out.
Oh, well done, Jack Watts.
Got to the right spot, didn't he? He and Rampy, that'll be another tantalising duel, potentially. Now, Zach Jones.
See, he ignored Aliir. He just didn't trust to give him the ball there.
He had no real options by foot, did he? And so he's just waiting till something materialised. It never really did.
Umpire let that go. Yeah. Otherwise, he thought he might have just plain old missed it. But it looked to be fairly high.
Well, George Hewitt, he got about 3 free kicks. That was a high tackle, though.
Did he sag, though? Did he drop into it? Let's have a look. He's up.
No, he was just, he was going to do it, wasn't he?
As low as his height. Almost semi-corrected the adjudication of that rule already.
Gee, well done, Hogan.
Yeah, he was able to get it through to Tyson.
This is Willing.
Of course, Dom Tyson playing plenty of footy in Sydney with GWS before moved across to the Demons. Been a very solid contributor for them, averaging 24 disposals and 4 tackles.
Well, I've got 3 here now. Thomas Bugg and Frosty.
Sinclair came well. Good timing on the tap too. Mitchell just missed the mark. Sinclair tries Kennedy this time. Off the ground. Again, you'd expect we'll see plenty of that. Wagner disposed of and couldn't get rid of the footy in correct fashion. So Rose, who was promising again last week, just astray and he's kicking for goal. It's not the best kick, and Hunt, obviously even the easiest of marks, what appears to be the easiest marks, can't be taken for granted today.
Got to keep your feet in these conditions. You get a second chance or third chance because of the ball slipping through the pack.
Go on in the wrestle. Trengove. Towers did well to get that together for Jones. Oh, Nan Curvis, a little spurt, got himself into the clear, and then he was quickly shut down. But Jack, with a secondary effort for the Swans, hits the post. Always plumps up the stats when you kick the ball to yourself and fall back. Not that Bernie needed much help last week with 42. Corn along the line. Bug looking for something better before the kick. Trengove was onto the plan and knew the dangers around him. Dawes. And Maxi, even he couldn't stand up in that one.
It's just about yardage from the kick-ins. Another 10 metres. It's a lot in these conditions, so I think they'll play on nearly every time, Hutto, unless there's a kick straight on.
Now it all helps, doesn't it? 6-point lead, Melbourne, with the only goal after 10 minutes in the opening term. Hanbury's been quelled so far, but can't keep a player like that down all day. McVeigh, and Curvis is charging out. Didn't care what was in his road, even his teammate. And he maybe made it difficult for his teammate Rose to take the mark. And as it turns out, Melbourne are now on the move.
It's been a good foot race here. He is quick, Kent, and he's just clawing on Mills. Works so hard to keep the body between his opponent and the ball then.
Kent stayed afloat though, didn't he? Stayed up, and then he was able to impact the next contact.
They're playing the better footy, but weather like this, it's hard to actually capitalise.
No doubt.
Unless you're hugely better than the opposition.
Hogan, even Kennedy couldn't drag the mark in. They surround him. Mitchell, Rampy, sliding in Jack. And again, it's out through Lloyd. Rose, well positioned.
Oh, he's off.
Oh, boy.
He's dropped it. That's holding the
That's
ball.
a lack of awareness of what's around you.
Just a bit excited, wasn't he? Wanted to play quick, Shorey.
Well, the Demons try and play quick back, but that doesn't amount to anything either. Now Jack taking it. Ambitious kick into the middle, but he went for Franklin, who's got plenty of resources on hand. Rampy, the fumble, though. Franklin was still there. Instead, he went for Sinclair. Maybe not the wisest of choice. Difficult for Big Cal in those circumstances, but he gets another crack at it. And off to McGlynn. Just wormed his way through cleverly. Almost a slider from Towers. He recovered superbly to climb to his feet, but Bernie Vince well placed.
Just going to hold it up.
bit of almost footy for the Swans, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's tough to hit the target. You have to strike the ball almost millimetre perfect on your foot.
Jaden Hunt. He's going to claim it here.
Yeah, I reckon that's holding the ball. He had opportunity. Just the one thing about the switch today, dude, people say it's dangerous, but I think it's the only way you're going to really score at, a lot of times. Got to take it on.
Hunt put his faith in Hogan, but he had 2 to contend with, and one of them was the experienced McVeigh. Uses McLean as the way out across the ground. He was set up a bit there, Jack. Good, strong, contested footy by Oscar McDonald.
He did very, very well. There was real danger, Hutto, if it got over the back there. He's got to go again here for the contest.
And again, Bernie Vince is being a commanding player for the Demons from behind the ball, as you talked about, Shorey. McVeigh probably doing the same role for the Swans. Mills had an excellent first season. Parker didn't mark. Well done, Bernie Vince. Trengove, he gets cleaned up. Again, play on the call. And opportunity on the Wagner kick. Tough for Rose. Got it from both sides. Viney puts himself in the line of fire.
I reckon the umpires umpired really well so far. There's a lot of players leaning forward in the tackles and they're not falling for it. So you're going to have to earn your keep today.
Tyson, Jones, Dawes. And Kennedy sees it out. Dean Towers and Jared McVeigh both with 7 disposals that had the most of the footy on the ground so far. We've gone 13 minutes at the halfway point of this opening term. Oliver, well done, Nankervis. Good physical impact. That is a dangerous kick. Going to land in the middle of the ground. There's Demons from both sides. Hogan really desperately wanted to make it his own and wasn't far away. McLean and now Grundy well adrift up the ground following Hogan. Heaney, been a bit quiet of late. He's a man of undoubted talent, but just couldn't get his feet when he needed to. Well done, Hunt.
Yeah, Heaney offloaded him back in the square, pushed him over, and that gave Hunt a chance to arrive a little late, but he had a sprint up and he really put the crosshairs on him.
No score last week, Isaac Heaney's had 17 goals, 8 for the season. A bag of 5 and a bag of 4. The rest have been singles or nothings. Dawes, met by Grundy, wins a little mini battle against Hogan. Hewitt, timing was perfect, wasn't it, from Lloyd, but not the kick. Good contest, Heaney. Jack, Jetta's got one arm. Hard for him to dispose of the ball correctly when that's the case. Not sure how he did. Maybe the umpire
He didn't.
saying he didn't have prior, but Kennedy comes out of there again in a jolt. Oliver, good snatch from Nankervis. He's showing really good endeavour there and aptitude, isn't he, Nankervis?
I was worried about the tools, having too many tools, but yeah, I think this was well, it didn't come out there, and that just play on. I thought that was the handball where he didn't get the fist to it.
Again, the Demons defending grimly. Back to the middle, Hogan. Play on the call. And the hands, just those little nifty hands that players are so good at these days in AFL footy. Very hard to affect on a day like today. Franklin is sweating on Oscar McDonald.
He had a fair run up at it.
He had his brother as backup.
He is intimidating, Lance, when he's 106 kilos, 6'5 and a half, and he's got about 30 steps behind him. He's coming at a rapid rate of knots.
Yeah, he doesn't try and hide the fact that he's on his way. Parker, they can jump from every side, but again, well read off the pack by Wagner.
Great kick. Got to gather in one.
Oh, he does. And then he can kick it inside. It was an interesting kick. Aaliyah gets to the front against Watts and played it on its merits. An outstanding mark. And the crowd responding, and now he's off and going, Aaliyah. Unfortunately, lets himself down with a smother. We're going to see plenty of those through the day. Got help from behind from Grundy. Demons fight amongst themselves. They've still got more numbers at ground level. Hunt back into Oliver. Tough for Wagner. Jones there as well. And finally, they get it out. Stretch back to the wing. Even those sort of marks aren't certain of being taken today. Now, Petrarca couldn't really dictate terms the way he would have liked. Bug back for Viney. Knew he was in trouble before the ball arrived. And Rampy, his normally trusty left boot, Had a bit of space, a bit of margin for error that time. Towers has been good early.
Good kick too, smart kick.
Sneaky along the line. Gary Rowan suddenly breaks clear. Buddy's ready. Can he leap? He's got the one, but not the two. At the back, McDonald does well, Tom McDonald. Now Dawes has to be clean, and he was below his knees. Didn't help Jones too much though, but sheer weight of numbers.
They're defending well,
aren't they? Frost.
He's taking it on. He's taking the bounce.
Off the ground. Now Grundy had to decide whether to stay or go. He decided to go, and look at the kick.
Look, he's crossed it.
Right up to half forward. Jenner. He was right in the sights.
Well, Neville Jetta didn't go at the contest harder. Then he tried to milk a free kick from the umpire and didn't get away with it.
Parker puts his faith in Franklin again. Dawes well positioned, but the danger's still very much evident. Kennedy, oh, what a pick-up, an even better kick from Josh Kennedy. What a game, what a contest.
Well, I'd like that Neville Jetta contest, Derm, I think it was so important that, you know, in this game, you're not going to milk free kicks from the upper. You have to keep your body over the line, take it on, even if it's a contested area. We saw Chris Dawes drop a mark he probably should have taken, but Kennedy will love these conditions. Just strong in their hips, keeps his body, and well done to Jack. You're going to have to play smart, and very smart players normally stand out in these conditions.
Only kicked 4 goals this year up until today, Josh Kennedy, which
he has always been a big goal kicker of 20, 25 metres out directly in front of the goal square. He floats down. That's one in the side of the head. That'll hurt. And he gets a lot of snaps at goal from directly in the corridor.
well, he is normally a reliable source of goals. That's a good mark.
Just want to ask Barry, I'm having a look at the backman. Oscar McDonald, the other McDonald, and also Frost, bad kick. They're rotating those 3 off the bench, Barry.
Yeah, they are rotating Dern quite heavily. They've obviously come in with a plan. Obviously, the Swans throw up a lot of variety in terms of their forward half, so they have been coming off usually 2 on at a time, but 1 comes off each and every now and again.
Tom McDonald said, so they're trying to get at least Frost. We saw him run out of the back line before, so they're still trying to get run out of those players on a day when you do get very heavy in the legs in wet weather.
Fine start for the game from Dean Towers. He's had 9 disposals and 5 contested possessions. Unfortunately, just misses to the right. But
the other thing Melbourne are doing quite well is Hogan and Dawes are pushing right up the ground. Petrarca has been the man one-on-one inside 50. Obviously dangerous on the ground as well as in the air.
McDonald thought he had that under control. Rowan looked like he might have hurt himself.
He just hung it out there a little bit, Tom McDonald, didn't he?
He's hurt his elbow. Gary Rowan, we thought he was gone with a hamstring last week.
He's a little bit like that cartoon character Quentin. He just does something every time he goes to the contest. He gets an ache or a pain or a sprain.
Well, he's in the...
Need to keep him healthy. He doesn't string them together too often in terms of games.
In amongst it again there to try and find a way for another Sydney shot at goal. Look at all those players around it, trying to get a piece of the action. McDonald tackled by about 3. Hanbury had it, lost it. Viney, Jones, that's Zach Jones. Oh, Rose, young player. He's full of enthusiasm and energy at the moment. Back to Jones again. Anything could happen from here. Nankervis just not quite in the right spot. No one knew where the ball was going to come. And Oscar McDonald sees it through.
Let's have a look at... I'll just give it a bit of a tweak. Well, it's already strapped, so he's got some kind of element there already. Eats off an extra 8 or 9 metres.
Trengove kicks, McDonald, gone. Well handled by Hanbury and Parker, and was able, even in these conditions, to show the dab hand and find McGlynn.
He's having a good 6 or 7 minutes here, the Swans.
There's Nankervis up forward. He's been a dangerous player.
Rowan threatening with 3 demons around, put his head over the footy. And still can't find an escape. They're snatching and grabbing at the ball, trying to fashion some sort of clean possession. They're appealing. They don't really know what for. In the chaos of it all, the ball's out of bounds as Tom McDonald comes off.
He got sore from that kicking. He went for the ball. He fisted the ball to stop the Sydney Swans marking it, but he didn't carry on with the play after that. So he obviously landed
awkwardly.
Been a dominant period by the Swans, as you mentioned, and Curvis almost. Frost, sheer weight of numbers and opportunities. Surely they'll get a shot for goal. Rose through, but didn't take the footy with him. Sinclair, Hanbury, Parker.
More strength.
Luke Parker, McGlynn. Oh, the double grab. It's so very difficult. Jones.
Left foot up.
Jack, it's curling. Not enough.
Gee, it's turned, hasn't it? Melbourne dominated the first 7 minutes.
Watch.
Oh, land on the boot.
Yeah, lands on Sinclair's boot. Retape that. Couple of extra stirrups. Get back out there, son.
Looks like they're going down the rooms, boys, so they'll put a bit of extra tape on that.
Well, he's an important player, obviously, with Buddy as his man.
Oh, well,
Rampy decided to share it with Alier before the kick comes into the forward area.
That was well done. Good boy.
Now, Hewitt, again dabbing it further for McVeigh. So he's got that 45-degree angle looking in. Heaney calling for it long. Pokes it into the pocket. He came up to the ball in the end, Heaney. Now, that's all very good. But kicking a goal from here today is very tough.
Yes. Just on build-up. Yeah, on that occasion, Bernie Vince was playing on him. He's not just giving coverage. He had him for about 30 seconds. He decided to play about 8 to 10 metres in front. Heaney just waited for him to look back at the kicker, and then he takes off around the inside of the boundary.
We saw Petrarca at one end kick a terrific goal. Heaney not able to do the same. And Swans now 1 goal 5, so 6 scoring shots to 2. And their lead is 4 points.
There was 8-1 inside 50s early in this game. It is now 13-9 Sydney's way. So they've had the one Melbourne in probably the last 10 minutes of football. Here's Bernie Vince. Another stat.
Yeah. Oh, Jones full-bodied at it. Trengo gives it back to the Melbourne skipper. Kent. And the ball out. No doubt, if you can get it in your forward half on a day like today, it's pretty hard to get it out.
It's so hard to work right up the other end to score, Hutto. So, yeah, you've got to make the most of the times that you're in there.
Gordon fending it down. Kennedy just buffeted it out of the road. Big Maxi making his presence felt. McVeigh, terrific gather. And if you've got sure hands today, it can certainly help. And kicks like that don't...
Oh, he's got enough.
Oh, he's got a little one right across the chops. Gary Rowan, and he'll line up for goal.
He's like the footballing version of a pin cushion. They just keep giving it to him all the time, don't they? He's had a wretched run.
Look at the rain just teeming down. Gary Rowan in his 5th game for the season has kicked 7 goals, 1. As we said, we were worried last week that he might have had another hamstring and another big period on the sidelines. It's turned out okay, but a kick, unfortunately.
We know the Swans love to tackle, boys, but they had 46 already in this first quarter of footy, and we're not finished yet. So we know they love to tackle. They had 130 odd against the Suns a couple of weeks ago. They're on track to do that again.
Yeah, set records then, didn't they? And as you said, they might beat that today the way it's going. Jones, Ben Kennedy.
Just looking at the stats, Jared McVeigh's had 9, Bernie Vince has had 9. Which one of those two players use the ball better, I think, in this game? Might get their side across the line.
Sinclair trying to get it into the space. Franklin.
Had to beeline that, Frosty.
There's your leading disposals. McVeigh and Towers, as you mentioned, and also Bernie Vince. And Luke Parker back getting amongst the footy after only 13 last week. Kennedy. Here's Towers. What a first quarter from Dean Towers, and it just got better, much better.
What about the release from Josh Kennedy?
Unbelievable.
As Shorey's just pointed out, there's other players who've had more possessions. What have we got? 1, 2, 3. We've got 3, 4, 5 players with more possessions than him. But constructing that goal, kicking the other goal himself, he's arguably, well, there's no surprise, the most important player out there at the moment. That's just a wonderful, wonderful release of the footy.
What a goal
They're your ranking
Swans.
points, and
Yep.
Josh Kennedy's not on there because they're statistically driven, but he's arguably the most important player out there.
He wouldn't be far away, though, with the score involvements he's had. Melbourne with an opportunity. Jones wasn't able to clear the area, so gives the Demons a chance as they scramble around for the footy.
So what we saw in the last 7, 8, 9 minutes was that when the ball went into Sydney's end, it locked in. They couldn't get it out. So there's no reason why Melbourne can't do the same at this end. So they've got to really work hard, keeping the ball in. They've gone for the outside of the pack so they can get a shot forward.
The umpire just got involved in a set play there for Melbourne.
Almost got bowled over too, didn't he? Towers again
got
off
it
the
out.
ground. Buddy. Oh, he fooled them the first time, but he's a chance.
Yep.
He's a chance. He's trying to ride this one, but even Buddy couldn't from there.
Just had the straight line, that's all he needed.
He had a shot from 90.
Well, there was no one else on. He looked inside the corridor twice.
They cleared the line. It went over.
How good is it when a player can be a chance from 80 metres, even on a wet day?
Well, he's a rare player.
Yeah, one of a kind, that's for sure. Rampy coming back hard the other way. They've been stonewalled, the Demons, on the way out by the Swans since about midway through the quarter. And that quarter comes to an end with a hard-fought opening term. Sydney 2-6-18. Melbourne did all the attacking early on, but that only produced one solitary goal. They're 1-1-7, so an 11-point lead on a day like today as the rain continues to tumble. Very handy indeed for the Sydney Swans here at the SCG. Well, this Melbourne team, we knew with their history here, it's going to be a tough challenge against such a strong team, the Sydney Swans, bouncing back. They started really well, the Demons, in these difficult conditions with the rain tumbling down, weren't able to capitalise, and then after that, it was the Swans that got right on top in terms of possession.
Well, at the 10-minute mark, you would have thought it was probably roles reversed. The first 10 minutes, Melbourne had been inside their forward half for 60-odd% of the time. They just took over after that period then, Shorey. We look at the physical side of the game. They were behind in clearances, Sydney. They were behind in contested possession. By the end of the quarter, they were dominating those physical aspects of the game.
I thought Max Gawn was fantastic early in the game and got him some clearances, and then they nullified that, so that's what Callum Sinclair's got to do on the day.
All right, well, Simon Goodwin, who's taking over the Demons next year, is ready, I think, to chat to Barry Hall.
Yeah, thanks, Hado. Well, a really good start to the quarter, but the Swans got back in the game and dominated late.
Yeah, they did. They dominated the last 15 minutes, so we need to get our midfield really being more aggressive around the footy and starting to win some clearances.
So the Swans pick up, or do you drop off in certain areas? How do you assess it?
Oh, I think they definitely picked up, and we've got to try and match that now. That's the challenge for us as a team.
Good luck.
Thanks, Ollie.
Thank you very much, Barry. And have a look at this. We've got a 200-game player, or near enough to, Bernie Vince, right there, up against a 26-game player. Now, you look at Vince's eye line is going back there. He wants to protect Isaac Heaney. Heaney waits until Vince looks back at the ball carrier, and look what he does. He's looking up now, he's looked up, he's taken his eyes off him, then he sneaks around the outside. He makes his move when Bernie's not watching him. He has to look back at the ball carrier sometimes. An incredibly smart young man, Isaac Heaney, 27-game
And
player.
Heaney also gestured to kick the ball long, so when he was looking back, Vince is going, oh, he might be doing what he wants to do.
Yeah, he's smart and he's good. And that bloke's very, very good standing next to Bernie Vince. Well, Bernie's not a small man. That gives you Bernie's around the 6'2" mark, so it gives you an idea of the size of Franklin.
Tom McDonald back on the ground too, boys.
Thanks, Barry. Imposing figure is Buddy Franklin, and he's coming into the action straight away. Can't take the mark, though. Well done by McDonald. Mitchell, the backup, terrific. Hannibal just had to heave it forward by hand and hope for the best. The Demons on the job, though. McDonald for Bug. And then the low ball, Dawes, full-chested, Alir right with him every step of the way. Jones with a side out, Torp to half forward. Now, Curvis been a big physical presence for the Swans. Hasn't been worried about who he cleans up along the way either. Jack, McVeigh fell over, got up. Trengove a metre away from him, and McVeigh able to preserve that advantage. And here's a chance for Big Toby.
Now, I know this is going to sound hard on Trengove, but he turned like the Queen Mary in dock then. I would have thought he
lost a lot of agility with those injuries you were saying.
Yeah, I know, which is a shame because he did have a bit of agility, but yeah, he just turned him inside out.
What about this man? Gee, I've been very impressive. He hasn't, he's brought the ball to ground. His spillage has really attacked the contest.
Just his 7th game, his 2nd for the year. He's kicked 1 goal in AFL footy. He's trying to take his big opportunity, and he certainly has there.
Well done.
With Kurt Tippett out for 8 weeks, maybe more, he has a massive chance to stay in this Sydney team for a period of time, as he did towards late last year, where he was able to string together 5 games. Drop
the
kick.
place kick from his rugby league days, early days. Now this man, he is the dominant force on the field, I think, at the moment, Jared McVeigh. And we've got Bernie Vince going the other end. I think McVeigh's ahead, going at 67%. Vince is going at 43%.
Boy from Georgetown in Tassie and North Launceston on his path to being picked 35 for the Swans in 2013. Gone, feeding it down. Hanbury comes once, back up from his teammate in Jack.
Had clean hands then, Hanbury, didn't he? But the ball was just a little bit hot for these conditions once he got rid of it.
Smith back to the middle. Jetta versus Towers. Strong bodies of the Swans telling at the moment. McDonald back to full forward. Lear in front. Watts at least brought it to grounds. Smith tried to reverse out of the pack, just didn't take the ball with him. Watts stripped of it. Still they come. Ben Kennedy puts the head down.
Did well.
Vandenberg to the square. No free kick. Sweeping is McVeigh. And he decides to keep it in.
Gee.
Grundy.
That's confidence.
That is confidence.
He could have dabbed the pass into the back pocket. Instead he went for Mitchell in the longer option.
Left foot up.
Ben Kennedy was terrific last week, and he finds Kent.
So what do you... We know that Sydney have sort of taken over the game, but wet weather, it's still only got 17 points, the margin between the two. But almost corresponding, and I know physically they took over, but almost corresponding with when Sydney righted the ship was when Tom McDonald went off. He's back on now, and you just have to give it a little bit of time, not panic, and see if that actually helps in your balance and whether your guys in the middle can still keep winning the ball or start to win it back again. That's a good kick.
Yeah, Dean Kent looks right at home in AFL footy now. He's put that through. That's his 17th goal of the season. It's up to 44 games. He's had a lot of injuries in his short career.
Yeah, well, I don't know about Jeremy McVeigh. He did it well, and this kick, that's where you want to kick the ball too. They just lost the contest here. That was the issue, and maybe I think it was Mitchell dropped the mark he should have taken. But you've got to take all your chance. Everything was right there, but I thought he might have taken it through for a point.
Benefited by Ben Kennedy being a left footer as well.
So Kent kicks the goal, first time in a while for the D's, since they were able to get that early goal and hadn't really been able
That's a free,
their score.
Callum Sinclair's been doing that, Hutto, I reckon, the last 3. He's just trying to get inside the circle of him so he can't jump Maxi Gawn.
Well, he steps over the line,
which is a free,
to make contact and keep Gawn away from jumping at the footy.
He said 15 hit-outs, Max Gawn. That was his 5th disposal. Demons having a little spurt here. Kennedy and Jetta, they're trying to get the ball to a better place, but no guarantee on a day like today. Free kick's going to help. Bernie Vince.
Melbourne free kick. Melbourne free. Let it go. Give him the footy now, please. Give him the footy. Time on.
He's pretty willing, Isaac Kenny. He doesn't, not much phases him in the physical stage. That's a good effort at marking.
Was from Mills, who's done that all year, but this time couldn't drag it in. Kennedy, who's very smart around goal for the Demons. Josh Kennedy there as well for the Swans.
Thank you.
So outward bound, if Sydney get it, down the line, they're going to be kicking to what will be a 2 players v4.
Well, that's where it goes. And Frost's able to take the mark. It's so hard to find a path out of there without...
They are brilliant at defending within their own 50 though, Sydney, so they've got confidence to kill this.
Lear and Rampy both up. Kennedy got the hands off Mills. Back to the same spot. Same result. Maybe. Know the mark. McDonald. Wagner trying to step through. Jack smart to Franklin. Went straight back into the mire though. Nathan Jones. Swift with the hands, the Demons. Wagner got it from Viney. Pokes it into the pocket. Mills. Zach Jones.
Oh, that's ball.
Oh, he's done a 720.
What?
Kennedy. Across the face. And McVeigh has that choice of keeping it in or not. Decides to let it go out this time.
Well, didn't bump him, but just carelessly ran in. And Jones is well within his rights to remonstrate.
It's a bit harder to pull up in wet weather too. He tried to pull up.
That's what they all say.
Oh, well.
Sure how much contact they actually made. Kick goes back.
Left knee got him on the head.
Okay, back to the wing. Franklin
That last angle showed.
dishes off for Mitchell. Kennedy again beaten with a punch this time by Kent. Now Trengove has them probing. So this is Melbourne's patch. They've kicked the goal. They're pressing relentlessly.
Gee, that's good running by
Got to run out of Cheddar. Good boy, well done. Put his beelined it, just didn't take the ball with him, but he's got it, still moving towards goal.
Watts delayed the handball. He chose Dawes and then Kennedy, and it doesn't quite come off for Melbourne. Sinclair pokes the ball back to the wing. Set a challenge for everyone to go running hard. Towers busting a gut to get there. Hell without the ball, surely.
I reckon he was pushing him. He didn't actually hold him. The motion looked it that way, Hutto, but he was pushing him off the line of the footy.
Just seemed to linger for a little while, but play on the call. Aaliyah, and now Jack. Back to the wing, and there's Towers. What a start he's had. Eases the pass into Hannabrick and he didn't give to Kennedy. Kicked it in as quick as he could for Buddy Franklin. Went to ground, puffed it away. Trengove, McDonald. And then back to the wing again. Hogan, Rampy, Grundy. And now Rampy with a patch. Goes for Rose, who was close to doing a lot of good things in the first quarter. Takes this mark, able to contain the greasy ball.
Heaney against Jetta in the goal square, if they can get it there.
They were trying to sneak closer, but now had to really dart away and hope for the best on the kick. Hanbury path was cleared by Kennedy, and that allowed him to kick the goal. His arms waving in the square. Heaney saying, what about kicking it to me?
Well, have a look at this. So he's pushing him.
He's holding him. Towers was holding him. Frost.
He's played that pretty well, Frosty. That's
Well
umpired, though.
Wagner back to half back. Poke forward by Vince. Sinclair. Smith off the right boot. Buddy to mark.
Good communication from the umpires there. The field umpire, who wasn't the controlling, he yelled out, yes, it'll be a mark.
As long as it was a mark, then it's good umpiring.
Yeah, well, meaning that, yeah, it'll get there. It's not touched. It can be awarded if it's there.
Joe's had an impact, I think, early in this quarter. Callum Sinclair's just got involved a bit more than Maxi Gawn. He tried to run him off half back before.
So for goal number 750 in his storied career, Buddy Franklin, he's put it through.
Well done, Lance. 750, Hutto, is a big whopping tally of goals, isn't it? That's a super effort.
That's a good handball too, just for a big bloke to
good loop.
Know how much height to put on the ball.
And you mentioned it doesn't seem to matter what conditions for Buddy Franklin. One of the best key forwards of his size in wet conditions.
Yeah. He's never been a great pack mark, has he? A run and jump pack mark.
Still got another, 7 years on his contract, so he's going to get a lot more goals before that ends.
He might be getting a few bob at the end of that career just for sitting on the couch,
maybe.
I think, Hutto.
Yeah. Oliver, there was no advantage there as it turned out for Sydney. Hogan's pushed right up the ground, which means Grundy's there as well, and Mills helps himself, kicks to centre half forward. Some interference. Advantage not taken fully.
Great smother by Tombo.
Again, Rose has been dangerous, but hasn't been able to quite complete their job. Numerous occasions.
Just likes that polish, Hutto.
It's good that he's getting the footy and getting chances for his team. They're on their way out. Viney, he's just his 7th disposal.
Oh, jeepers. Young Kent, he just ran forward of it thinking somebody else will come. I will crumb it. Sometimes you've got to go. That wasn't good.
Mills hands it back to Wagner. Again, they're outnumbered, the D's.
That's better. He made a contest then.
Fell well for Jones. Poor Aaliyah tumbled to the ground. Nothing much he could do. Petrarca trying to zig and zag his way through. Hard to pull off that sort of number on a day like today. Dawes is able to counter well. Good physical presence around the footy, close to goal. No one does it better than that man, Kennedy. Back to the wing for a one-on-one. Rowan won the first battle. And now he escapes. Can't quite get away from the desperate clutches of Viney. A little mini win for the Demons. Rowan goes again with a secondary effort and sets himself up for a foot race. Buddy comes the other way, tried to protect and clear the path and give it back to Rowan again. Here's McGlynn now. Swan's looking ever dangerous, but well done by the young man Wagner, and he's earned a free in the wetted halfback. And the heavily coated and damp crowd don't like it too much. And Baz is down there just loving the rain. What are you seeing down there, Baz?
Oh, I'm loving this battle in the ruck, and Mexi Gorn's dominating the ruck in terms of hit-outs. It's nearly plus 10 in terms of the hit-outs, but the Swans are sharking his hits. They're dominating the centre clearances, so it's a good battle.
And plus 18 in the clearances overall, the Swans.
That adjudication is tough on this day.
No, I think it's a great adjudication, Derm. I reckon it's a dangerous time.
It is, but there's going to be times when the second to arrive is going to keep his feet and his legs are going to come in and make contact with the bloke who's already at the ball. That's correct. That one was correct.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that scenario is going to be tough to adjudicate.
I reckon when you go to ground, you lose the right. As in, it's an easy out at times to slide in, and sometimes it doesn't take a lot of courage either. But I think that's the way it has to be adjudicated. We just don't want to see knee injuries.
As you get under the trouble.
Oh, that's exactly right.
Gorn slapped it down Jones's way. Tried to go off the ground, but Hanbury had it worked out better. Mitchell gets them inside and Rose takes the mark this time. Buddy wants it. Give me a chance 1v1. There'll be no chance when Buddy's in full flight. McDonald, though, terrific. Got the hand in just at the last possible moment.
The Truckers moved up the field now. They need his, even though he's a young man, they just need his power around the footy, I reckon.
Hunt and Wagner and McDonald gets away from Franklin and sends them deep. Aaliyah, well stationed there, just behind the wing.
I'll tell you what, he's done it right. He's read the ball well.
Well, he outread the play then on Chris Dawes.
Had 8 rebounds last week in the NEFL. Did Aaliyah just had the one game earlier in the year against Brisbane and only had 6 disposals, but looked quite capable.
He was all right, yeah, he was comfortable in the class.
Back to Rampy, who generates so much run for the Swans out of their defensive 50. Mills, probing kick for Kennedy. Good battle between he and Jones.
How good was Jones then? He backed into him hard. Kennedy still up to the task.
How good was Kennedy the second time?
Super. 2 absolute.
Deliberate.
You nearly got to throw the deliberate out today.
2 warriors there, wasn't it?
He was tired when he kicked the ball.
He always looks tired.
He's had 12 disposals, Josh Kennedy. Back to the wing. Dawes was the flyer. Parker, shoulder to shoulder with Trengove.
At ground level, we're just seeing Sydney's. They just have an extra couple of very good players who are physically as strong or stronger than anything Melbourne can throw at them, and that's sort of making it more common for them to be winning the ball around the ground now.
Towers lays the big wraparound tackle.
Back.
And just jolts out of the pack. Goes skidding over the line. And they want deliberate, not paid. And Curvis was able to get it down and out of there.
I think the other rule you should ban is advantage on wet weather days. It's just you can't take total advantage on the rule, matter of fact.
Well, it's up to the players to not take it.
Exactly, yeah, you're right.
The one gets it down to Bug. Back to the wing for Dawes. Parker, Vince over the top, going high against Kent. It's getting a little bit volatile out there. Maybe Melbourne feel they need a bit of a circuit breaker and show they're not going to be pushed around. Oh, Vince got pushed into the umpire. Get out, he says.
Well umpired. Well umpired. Just didn't need to go on with any semantics or anything like that. It was really well umpired.
By Scott Jeffrey.
Yep, experienced.
Parker to the half forward line. The double fist was prominent out of there by Frost. Oliver.
He's a good kid, isn't he? Just charged at it. And this one too.
Delayed the handball. Maybe just set up Viney a fraction. Vince came his way, not really expecting it. Zach Jones. Demons all around him. Hamilton Lloyd. Scraps to half forward. Frost waiting. The footsteps are coming hard, but he went back into it nicely. Wagner, Jetta, had it, lost it. Heaney took his turn. They all have to, one after another, Oscar McDonald, then Rose, and finally the ball scraps over the boundary line and out of bounds.
We're on Take a Watch here today, Hutto. There might be records broken. The most ever recorded was in 2010, Richmond versus Port. Richmond laid 142 tackles, and Sydney have got 70, and we've still got 8 minutes to go in the second quarter. So there could be records broken here today.
Didn't take you for a numbers man like that, Hawley, but right on the job down there. Tackle after tackle.
What was your average for tackling, Barry?
Yeah, one
per game.
I only worried about the goals, Doom, but
that is rubbish, Hawley. You're one of the great team men as a forward.
It was. Straight smothered.
Stretches, kick smothered. And see what it amounts to. Mitchell skies it to full forward.
Be smart.
Well done, Rowan. Got to the right spot, forced the contest, and McGlynn couldn't quite.
Well, that was good play by McGlynn, but I'm trying to pick, I think it was Heaney who just stayed off that contest. He knew he couldn't impact, and his man went to the ball, 2 against 1. So we're going to get a goal from ground level.
Petrarca back to half back.
Good mark.
Towering mark, wasn't it, from McDonald? Down the line he goes. Didn't really go to the advantage of a teammate. Rampy. Now, is that deliberate? Throw it in.
The half-forward line of Melbourne are getting to the wrong spot. They're getting to the position just a little bit too late. What we've seen a couple of times is Aliir lead his opponent to the footy. It's as if Sydney are predicting and knowing where the Melbourne midfield has to kick the ball. They get there earlier and they're positioning themselves better.
Tries to spin his way through, George Hewitt. So too Sinclair. Back for Rose. Stripped of it instantly by Vince. Just worked him into the position he wanted. He got it off to Viney. Shut down straight away and smartly by Jack. Oh, good handling of the footy by Frost, but what he did next wasn't quite as smart. He has to go and try and rectify the situation, which he does with a lovely little paddle back. And they just have enough numbers there to work this out. Tyson back to Wagner. Dawes, the fist from Jones was effective. Trengove goes for another torpedo.
There's that half-back line position again. They just occupy the space where the ball's most likely to go to.
Grundy to Jones is getting more and more waterlogged, and it favours the Demons this time. And that kick's going on and on.
Won't get there.
Sliding across.
Do you remember those days, Shorey, where you just, all the willpower you have, it goes into those last 1.5, 2 seconds as you're watching it struggle to the line.
So Sydney have kicked 2-1 to 1-1 this quarter. And in this low-scoring contest, it's a 17-point advantage. Mitchell back to the wing. No shortage of numbers there either. Frost comes out in front of Franklin, but he was bearing down. Had him in his sights, and I think Frost knew it too.
You know what, I've been really impressed with James Rose, just his competitive attitude. He's not polished at the moment, but he just keeps at the contest. He was the first person back to that contest there with Buddy Franklin then.
Only played, this is his 5th game, and this will be the best of them so far. We saw him kick goals in his very first game when he came on as the sub, but he's been very good working out where the ball's going to.
I had some chances last week, kick 1 goal 3. So could have done a lot more damage.
They're probably one of the rare clubs where they can afford to have players like that. He's going to make mistakes. He's a young player, but he's going to be a really good player. You know, with a couple of years under his belt, they've had 6 debutants this season, and to have a high standard they are putting out, it's rare that you get a club to do that. So Rose, if he makes mistakes, that's just going to happen.
They're just putting game time into them on the run, aren't they?
Just 20 years of age, James Rose. High contact. Goes to McGlynn. Quickly climbs to his feet. Wants to get it in there and give his forwards an opportunity.
It's going over.
And it was. Bug was the first to realise that. Then Rowan came with his pace. Job done.
That might be what Jared McVeigh didn't want to rush that point down the other end. One rush behind might be really important in the overall score of this game.
Could well be. Fended away. Back for Rampy though. As they line up the Swans, Mitchell flew, Buddy just waiting at the back. It never came. Frost. Now, is he going to be penalised for that? Yes.
Can't be umpire.
Gee, it's a hard rule today, isn't it?
He's 25 metres in and he's allowed to hit it away.
Quickly to Buddy, and then he ran straight.
He dropped it.
Well,
She had the ball, he went to kick, and he dropped it in the tackle.
And then Buddy took out his frustrations.
You've got to put it on Maxi's head.
Tyson, that was a difficult equation. Kick to the wing, Rampy fends it
Great
down.
contest.
He couldn't do much with it, though. He looked up and saw Swans players only, so he's going to be penalised.
He was unlucky there, wasn't it? Yeah, he slipped over before he was going to kick it.
But he had prior opportunity, so it's the right decision. Let's just pick your boots better.
Another one of those young Swans that seems to be getting better and better. Mills. Not the perfect kick, but luckily for Nick Smith, there's no one around him. And he's got Hanbury, or even longer, Parker and Rose.
Hogan was chasing him there. He's got to come up at it now. He hasn't touched the ball this quarter. I know it's difficult, but you've just got to make a presence in games like this.
And Jetta sees it safely over this time.
Chris Dawes this quarter has had the one handball. Jesse Hogan, no touches. They've just got to come up and charge. Remember where Max Gawn was for that mark? That's got to be one of those two charging at it and just bodily just giving a real presence.
Now Hanbury's been pinged.
Well, he had a player on the boundary line who was outside him then on the boundary line. So you've got to get it in your mind that he just said, nope, I'm taking it out, and I didn't even try and handball to my teammate.
Bernie Vince. Nankervis.
That's a good mark.
Good mark.
Casually gives to Grundy, who dropped it. And kicked it back to the wing, and Kennedy out bustled and hustled by Vince. Superior judgment there from Bernie Vince.
Looking for Dawes now, he's on the move.
Safely takes the mark, big Chris Dawes.
Just got to get a return out of the two key forwards. He's got to bang it into Hogan now. Doesn't get to it.
Watts did plenty of heavy work, but the ball got all the way through. Rampy and then McVeigh. You could see him in a real quandary as what to do because there was nothing for him. He waited and waited, and eventually McGlynn ran to the right spot. He has Jones to work with one way or the other. His presence allowed him to kick the ball into Mitchell, who hesitates only for a moment. Sets it for Franklin, who's given away a free. He's a little bit frustrated, Buddy, being double-teamed continuously. As Oscar McDonald sends it back to the wing. Jones with the fist. Towers.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Tony Shaw says it's dangerous.
Well, you're right near the boundary line. There was no need for the push. The only thing you could do was break a wrist on the fence or something.
Umpire Chris Cameron says, no, that's all right.
I've softened the old age.
Yeah, you are.
Gawn gets it down. Petrarca trying to shoot out the handball.
Well done, Dean Kent.
Yeah, it's good stuff from both players, wasn't it?
I was critical of him, that marking effort. He deliberately ran forward at the drop of the ball, turned and watched it go over his head, and his opponent marked the ball. But on that occasion and the last few, he's charged at it, so he's trying to make amends for that.
Sinclair third up that
Beautifully
time.
roved.
It was from Viney to Jones. Sends them forward again. The Swans defence seem to be best placed, but they haven't killed it yet. Watts. Interesting handball to Trengove. Melbourne free.
That's it. Barry, you get the better sense from down there with the water on the ground, how heavy the ball will be. He'll kick from 47, 48. Normally he'd put it into the seats. These conditions, has he got the journey?
Yeah, it's going to be tough, Derm, and I don't think he's the biggest kick in the book as it is, but very tough conditions. That ball will be quite heavy.
Kick to goal last week, laid 9 tackles. He's having 19 disposals in his first game back against the Hawks. Jack Trengove.
Barely made the goal score.
Yeah.
It shows you just how difficult the conditions are.
Poking it out of their towers, but again,
Frosty can kick.
The Demons.
Big,
yeah,
not accurately. All right, he's gone all right though, Frosty. He's decided to come and meet the footy. He's been all right, not the worst.
So Lloyd in that last line. 2 goals to 1 for the quarter in favour of the Sydney Swans. Their lead extended to 18 points. Melbourne with a real opportunity in the closing 2 minutes here. Try getting a clean possession in all of that. You just can't even see the ball in amongst that. And there it is. As we see what's away from the contest. Rampy in that last line. Doors going up to the contest, so the Swans staying closer to goal. So they're not well represented here, the Demons. Swans with an extra 2 bodies. But it only takes one, and Jesse Hogan almost was that one. Watts could be. Petrarca maybe. Mitchell. Kennedy. Lovely miss kick. He's not going to be penalised for that, is he?
Oh, he cannot. Oh, he's going to. Oh. Gee, that was a good setup.
Oh, fantastic. Did you hear that from Scotty Jeffries? He said, no, not deliberate. It was a shank.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
It's the one time when you're pleased that someone says you shanked it.
Yeah. Cop and lip from the umpire.
Kennedy again. Now, was that a shank? Well, it's on the full anyway.
Yeah.
So no complaints. And they can wind up for one more here. One more crack at it, the Demons. Wagner tempers the kick a little, and it was well placed. And Bernie's popped up in just the right spot. Now, he is a big kick of the ball.
Will he go the distance here when he torp it?
What have we got? 50 seconds?
Yeah, you can see it's going through his head. What do I do? Do I set it up? Have they got someone for the short setup? Maxi Gorm better be ready to drop into the spot if it doesn't make it. He's going to wind up. It's touched, so it's no mark anyway, Maxi. And it's drifted through for a behind. Just can't find the right path at the end to goal here, the Demons.
Well, they've been inside 50 in this second quarter now. 12 times to Sydney's 9. 2 goals to 1, though. As I said, Sydney are brilliant at defending when the ball's actually inside their defensive 50. They don't mind it. They're not all that uncomfortable with it.
They come for Dom Tyson. Towers squeezes out. Mitchell versus Hunt. He manoeuvred his body smartly. Viney, Tyson, and they're scrounging all over him. And we're just about there for the first half. It's been a grind, as you would expect, in these difficult conditions, but the Sydney Swans just a little better at getting it done where it matters.
Great tap again. Almost absolutely into the path.
Kennedy get the handball out, back to the wing. And big fella Nankervis. The siren sounds. Half-time. And it's Sydney 4-8-32, leading Melbourne 2-3-15. We're going to hear from Jack Viney on the way to our half-time break, but a couple of quick words from you, Dermot Shorey.
Well,
it's a battle.
Yeah, it is a battle, but you just feel that when the ball goes to anywhere between the 250s to the outer parts, you just feel like Sydney have one extra body there, and it's a physical body.
Yep.
Just a little bit more game know-how. Even that last scrimmage there, Franklin comes up to place real body heat.
I think he's ready for us down there. Hawley.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Well, this is right up the Swans' alley. They love this sort of football. How do you get back in this game?
Just keep cracking around the contest. It's nice and slippery, so the more boys are following up, the more chance we are of getting back in it.
You are seem to be getting it inside 50 enough, but just struggling to score. You probably changed some stuff up after half-time?
Yeah, we are struggling to score when kicking forward. We'll probably be looking for forwards and mids to push in a bit quicker and really try and lock it down, get as many repeat stoppages in the forward line as we can, and hopefully score from a few.
Thanks for your time.
Cheers, Bass.
Well, they really need to make the most of half-time.
They are just a little one-dimensional up in the forward line, Melbourne.
Yeah. 17 points is the lead. We're back with more from the SCG right after this. Well, try playing footy in these conditions, and the Demons did very well early. Christian Petrarca kicked a wonderful goal, but the Sydney Swans, just their experience, really telling, and even though they are a relatively young team as well, they were able to get it together. Some of their stars and also some of their youngsters stepping up. Kennedy very important in a couple of goals. Buddy kicked a fine goal. He's 750th. And the Swans have a very, very handy 17-point lead as the rain continues to tumble. And it's going to be hard for the Demons to make up this sort of ground quickly, but they've shown that they can create those opportunities, Derm.
They're not quite up to the mark, not exactly at the mark of contested possession and winning the hard footy around the ground, but they are thereabouts. Jarrod McVeigh was fantastic, but you called him Bernie Vince at one end, Jarrod McVeigh at the other. He's playing on the halfback flank, but he's taken the ball inside forward 50 the most amount of times for Sydney.
Well, as I said earlier in the game, which one of these two players uses the ball better is going to be the player who might win the game for their team. McVeigh's going at 75%. Bernie Vince is going at 50%. But look, he's always been a one grabber, and talented players like that, they stand out in these conditions because they still know how to go about it. He's a very smart positional player, and he's playing behind the ball, so doing a good job.
And at the other end, Bernie Vince, he averages, I think, more than 500 metres gained per game this year. Had 42 touches last week. He's already got 441 today.
Yeah, that's a big stat, isn't it? You know, because he's had the 15 possessions, and as we said, we thought McVeigh was better, but no, he's been a very good player, and they've found the role for him now too, because he can go on. But I think he might have to push onto the ball a little bit more. He might be the one and get through. Yeah.
So this is Bernie's ranking points over his career. We go back to 06. You know, he was at 31, just a young player, gradually climbing. Halcyon days at Adelaide was 09. He was averaging 99, so near enough to 100. But if you look at what Melbourne have done, they've come in, and if this is the stock market of players, they've bought him at the low point.
Yeah,
they got him at 78, and he's now up to career high in terms of ranking points, averaging 103 this season.
Yeah, he's averaging 27 disposals a game, and that is a career high as well for Bernie Vince. So he and a number of his teammates really need to keep going and working hard. You can see much needed break at halftime. Maxi Gawn had an influence, 24 disposals, but hasn't been able to get the same amount of the footy around the ground. As Brendan McCartney giving him some words of wisdom. And the other hand, it's the Sydney Swans with plenty of warriors in the middle like Hanbury, Jack, Kennedy and Parker. What a team they are, and they're doing it after coming off a loss last week to the Giants. So we're back with more from a very wet SCG after this.
He loved his people, he loved the Aboriginal people, he loved everybody. Yeah, he loved to lead, and that's what he loved to do.
I'd like to say a special thank you to my dear wife and my family over there on table 39, who are my Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
Did your dad have a view on the best thing he ever did for Sturt?
He did. My mother told me about 2 or 3 months later what he'd said, and he said that the best work he did for Sturt was in the bedroom. I was very proud of that.
Tell me, who belted you in 61? Is that
Roberts.
Victorian in the room?
Neil Roberts, yeah.
Oh, he's here. We might square up at the back later.
He asked in a team meeting, we were playing St Kilda, and he said, who wants to stand on Tony Lockett? And to this day, Jared, I do not know why, my hand shot up in the air. It started getting really cloudy and really quite dark. And we're winning, and he's kicked 1, I think, maybe 2. I look over and he's looking around like this. And I think he's surely going to belt me. He's going to smash me. The next minute he took a step towards me, so I'm standing here. He goes, looks down at me, and he leant down and he said, looks like we're going to get a bit of rain.
After the grand final, I remember I was struggling, so I went out and celebrated till about 1 a.m. and had a good time, and I come back to the hotel room with my wife because I was battling a bit and struggling to breathe. And I rung the doctor, and the doctor goes to me, "What the bloody hell do you think I can do?" He said, "I am drunk as a skunk." And he said, "Here, pass the phone to your wife, will you?" And I passed the phone to Claire, and he said to Claire, "Look, if his lung collapses, just ring an ambulance, will you?"
Triple Premiership player Nigel Lappin, the last of 6 inductees. It's always a special night. You two gentlemen, Dermot Brereton and Tony Shaw, both members of the Hall of Fame. And it's not just those that are inducted, it's the room. And you saw the cutaways. Everywhere you move within the room is superstars.
Oh, it is a wonderful night. It's my favourite night of the year because it's the only AFL function you go to, Shorey, when nobody's in competition with anyone else. They actually are there to celebrate the deeds of the people who have been celebrated on the evening.
And their journeys too, isn't it? It's all about the families and that have played a part in their journeys.
Well, Maurice Rioli, he's probably the best Indigenous player I thought I've ever seen playing the game. There's been a lot of greats, but Nigel Lappin, Lee Matthews said the most courageous player he's ever coached, as in what pain he could go through as in running, other than getting belted, and what he went through in that grand final.
I had a chat with the great Verdon Howe as well, and told him his name was mentioned mentioned often in the Hawthorn club rooms because you come out of the showers and somebody had pinched your Verdon Hell, your towel.
Oh, God.
And
I was chatting about his talent.
I was chatting to him for quite some time beforehand. He was one of the all-time greats.
And also some stars from SANFL and
Bagshaw,
Waffle, Ray
Sorrell,
Sorrell, Bagshaw. So they're recognised, and Ben Hart also had some great stories to tell. So there's certainly been some stars. And there's plenty in action. I reckon Buddy Franklin might make the Hall of Fame one day. And maybe even these little kids who get to enjoy it. And who loves the wet more than kids? They can get out there and have a run around in the NAB Oz Kick. No doubt the place to be is undercover. There's plenty here. Obviously not as many as there would have been if it had been a fine sunny day, but they've all huddled up and waiting for the third quarter to get underway. The Swans in tight. The Demons just going through their last paces before the third term begins. And Barry Hall's down there just braving the elements like the big tough man that he is. Hawley, what are you expecting in this third term?
Oh, look, it's wet, tight and tough, Hutto, and nothing's going to change. The weather's certainly set in, but the Swans are a well-oiled tackling machine. We spoke about the tackle record, 142, round 10 in 2010. Richmond had 142 tackles, and look, the Swans are on 87 at half-time, so that record is very much in danger. And when you've got your forwards like Heaney had 9 tackles, Buddy Franklin, who you don't really expect too much out of in terms of tackling and putting on pressure, he's had 5 himself. So the forwards are doing their job. We know they love to tackle in the midfield. So the Swans, they love tackling and they're doing it pretty well today.
They are, and it's helped them get to a 17-point lead as we start the third quarter. Do you think Melbourne, as we look at Aliir, who's done a pretty good job in his second game, can make any positional changes, Derm, or is it more just doing what they were doing but doing it better?
As we have a look at the radar and all the weather coming in, I just think Sydney have been more efficient up forward because they're throwing more things at the Melbourne defence. Melbourne's attack is very one-dimensional.
So into the third quarter, Gawn with a tap to try and give them the sprightly start they needed. Vandenberg, a big swish with the foot. And it was dangerous, the umpire said. So instead of it going Melbourne's way, it's been McGlynn.
That's weird, though. The foot never endangered the parade. The ball kicked into him.
Franklin. Hanbury in the perfect position. Now surely can't shape it back for a goal. It almost fell for Heaney. It did. And then he was dragged down, given plenty of latitude by the umpire.
Oh, under the ankle.
Yep.
Well, you've got to keep your feet down. We spoke about it in the second quarter.
I know, it's just... We're still in the era of players who were brought up charging at the footy. Now, Bernie Vince, this... No. I know, well, if you look at Bernie's age...
Yeah, he's 30 years of age.
Yeah, late 20s, 30 years of age. That rule came in about 3 years ago. His entire life has been dive for the footy, put your nose over it.
Well, Kieran Jack does him a real favour.
Yeah. And in moments of pressure like this, when a goal's on the line, he's going to resort to what he was taught as a kid. I know you've got to.
Oh, you've got to pay it, but that's the other issue. Buddy Franklin was 1-on-2 just before when the ball came forward, and at ground level, the Swans have done it better. They're playing to that 1-on-2.
Yep.
So that's why they're getting deep entries into their forward line. The Swans.
Gawn palmed it down. Trengo back to the wing. Outstretched hands. Rampy went a second time. Got it away from a frustrated Hogan. He's starting to just boil a little. Good fist from Heaney for Rose to Franklin on the bounce. Which way? You know he's going to quickly turn if he can, but he just couldn't get the handle on it. Somehow stayed alive with Rose, who was trying to work out in his head what to do. The message didn't quite get through.
I like the way he goes about it, though.
He's one of those ones who I said they've thrown more at the Melbourne defence than in reverse.
Oh, this one's...
Rose has been one of those players. He's given that Melbourne defence something to think about. He's been very lively. He moves around a lot, so it's not as if he's a big target and you know the ball's going to be directed to him. He's going to find the footy.
Oliver to the wing. Nice little handoff from Hogan to Viney, and now Watts.
He's trying to manhandle Aliir.
It doesn't get that far again because McVeigh was on the spot with Hanbury. And the Swans can really stretch out. Heaney takes the grab. Franklin calling for it deepest. Instead, he tries to go via Rowe, and they've got numbers everywhere. Here's Rose again. He fastened a kick out of there. Swans everywhere. The handball comes Buddy's way, and he can stride into goal for another.
Well, again, another contest where 2 to 3 Melbourne players go at it. Now, it's great to think that, but you've got to be aware of what's around you. And as soon as you do that, you get out of the contest. They have done it better than you can just see here. Just a nice kick over the top. They've got players forward everywhere here. And lucky there, because Rose, again, I thought he might have messed that up, but he had enough strength to hold his body and keep his feet. Just getting 2 easy goals where Melbourne are struggling to do it at the other end.
Franklin's second goal. Kieran Jack was just able to handle the conditions well enough to provide the assist. And the margin stretches to a game-high 24, and it could build even further, particularly if it can't handle marks like that, as difficult as it is. Viney tried to provide the relief, but McGlynn will send it back in again. Mitchell, strong body work. Well counted, but they're lining up Mitchell or Rose. Maybe got in each other's way a fraction there.
You know what? That was, and I don't blame John Longmire, that was quite selfish on that occasion.
From Tommy Mitchell?
Yep.
Should have shepherded. And
he was second cab off the rank. He needed to tell his teammate he was being guarded, he was being shepherded, soccer it through.
Made Vince wear one there with a handball over the top. Hunt with that dash that he's now renowned for. Able to link up with Vandenberg. This is better by the Demons. Trend go back to Vandenberg. Not sure he wanted it back, as you said. One too many. Cleaner was Petrarca, but even he can't take it with him in the manner he would have liked. And McGlynn sees it out.
Now he's second cab off the rank. Rose has got a shot at it there, and he actually has to get underneath Rose to try and strike a foot at it. That's awful, and yeah, John Longmire would hate that, because that's not team first.
Kennedy ripped it out of there, sends it deep to full forward again. Last minute lunge was effective from Jetta. Put the spoil on just when he needed it most.
Controlling it though.
James Rose has been the go-to man.
Well, he's so lively, isn't he? He's just about everywhere. He's run into any part of the forward line and he's increasing his opportunities.
Jetta was given a path to get it to the wing. Vandenberg a bit of a swing and a miss. Was that high on McGlynn?
He ducked into it.
He did. McVeigh, and they're well placed again through Mills. Heaney or Rose can have a run at the ball. Good fist from McDonald.
Look at the numbers here.
Towers with the gather. Couldn't get it to Heaney. Hunt comes once. Now Rampy. A fumble initially.
Left footer.
Watts gets closer. Trying to fend. Couldn't. Was getting deeper and deeper into trouble. And the free kick is going the way of Jack Watts. Looking to move it. Had Dawes in the middle. Instead he goes out to the wing to Viney. A reliable path. Oh, they weren't on the same wavelength there, unfortunately, the D's. And they've turned it over. Kennedy feeding it back to Mills. Up and under. Rose from the side. Bit of a slap on McDonald.
Both umpires saw the same thing, simultaneously blew their whistles. Oh yeah, that's a good one across the chops.
Viney got Kennedy where he wanted. Towers found a way to get it to onto the boot. Now Kent sends it Hogan's way. He's in front of Aaliyah. Then he had to deal with McVeigh.
That's good. Well done, Jesse. Applauded his teammate for the work he just did to get it long to him. Gave him a shot, being a one-on-one. What he's got to do if McVeigh comes across like that, he's just got to recognise the 100-kilo forward. He's got to crash him over the boundary line so he doesn't want to get there again.
Parker and Jack. Stays in. And then creeps over the line and out of bounds. So it's still Sydney 5-11. 16 scoring shots to 5. The Demons 2-3.
McVeigh's been really good in terms of support. Aaliyah playing his second game on. Jesse Hogan is the star.
Yep.
He's been really good in support.
Go on with the tap. Opportunity Vandenberg. Playing in front. Just couldn't drag it down. Big Chris Dawes. Hogan. Petrarca.
Every contest that comes in to Melbourne's forward line, you can see the Swans have just got one extra off the back all the time, just covering that back, and they're doing it really well. They know you just don't have to go 3 up in the pack like Melbourne have done up the other end.
It's McVeigh making that situation.
He does it, yeah, he's just a smart player.
Nick Smith down the line. Pump back over.
Did you notice that there? See, we're looking at the shot still. See how Hanbury's to the outside? whenever they go down the line, they get, you know, numbers at the fall of the ball, but they also have the one furthest on the outside. And that, whether it goes to him straight away or eventually, that's a free kick going the other way, that player is able to deliver downfield. It's slow.
Yeah, well, he broke to that position where it was going to be hard to kick a goal anyway.
Well, that's where I like Bernie Vince, though. He has to go forward now. He's a smart player. He knows how to kick goals. They just need to get scores here. So just take that loose man in defence and go forward.
Good head, Maxie.
Yeah, interior tap, hoping that Jones could do exactly what he did. Get it to Watts, who didn't rush. It opens up with a little pass. Now this is going to be tough for Max. There is Swans clambering all over him. Alia.
Good hands.
The kick not quite as good, but safe enough. Towers got to his feet quickly. Grundy sends him out to the wing. Rose is well placed to take the mark. Looks down the ground. Heaney and Jones both as potential options. No real height to go to at this stage.
So two Melbourne players go here, but no, that's better.
But it falls for Towers. It really opens up too easily for him. And into the 50. Watts. He moved back there, slaps it away. Trengove, good assistance, they needed it. Disposed of McGlynn, who looks a bit sore after that.
I reckon he got one in the side of the head then, Hutto, when he charged into that. He might be out.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, he's up and... Yeah, he got one of the Cruet.
Sinclair. Vandenberg, though, maybe the Melbourne's advantage. Dawes. Still hard to take those marks. Rampy, Kenty well not to give away a free. And Dawes is able to get it to Oliver, and they're inside 50. It's a foot race. It's Nick Smith. Has a look over his shoulder. Petrarca, he's coming for you, Nick. He's got you on the top of the square. And the Demons might, yes, he did it, Petrarca. Did all the work and then finished it off.
Well, it was just strong. it was
sweated on him, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And he had to do that. He didn't want to rush at it because the player might go to ground. That's just a good kick, straight in line with goal. And the numbers here, it's a foot race, and you're always worried when you're a defender, Derm, how well that ball's going to bounce. And it didn't bounce. Just good pressure. They needed that goal to get back in.
Let's have a look at Benny McGlynn. Oh, yeah, shoulder to the head. Oh. Benny McGlynn might have been out for a second there, the way his head just...
Christian Petrarca's kicked 2/3 of Melbourne's goals. And they're back to within 20 points. Viney still trying his heart out in the middle. You can see the water on top of the ground make it so difficult. Dawes, fumble from Oliver. Jones for Bug. He steps inside. Big opportunity, Demons, to the square. Hogan worked his way to the front and did it really well. Didn't get it in the air. Got it on the ground, then lost it. Kennedy off the ground, had good support. Hewitt, Jones. It's not past yet, though. There's Demons lining up out there. Jetta try to get it for Gawn's advantage. Back to Nathan Jones. They're digging deep, the Demons. They're lining up. Stretch. Bernie Vince. Got plenty of the kick. Just the wrong side.
Having a good 3 or 4 minutes here, Melbourne. They've had 4 repeat entries with 2 centre bounce clearances.
Well, it's important to get reward for effort now, isn't it, Doom? They're 27 inside 50s and 3 goals. They need to start to cash in on some of these entries.
Margin at 19 as Jones sends it to half back. Frost
did well. Just quarterback.
The back, and then they all just evaporated. And he made the most of it with the run through, but not the kick at goal.
A lot of speed, hasn't he?
Oh, Frosty's quick. Yeah, he's genuinely quick for a 194-centimetre player.
Grundy brought it back into play to Nick Smith. Taking the safe route into the back pocket and then along the line. Nankervis is the tallest Swan there. Vince, Tyson. Away from Kennedy. Hanbury will give with the lightning hands. Parker got cleaned up, but he had great backup. Rose, Buddy looking for it. It didn't come where he was hoping.
Tom McDonald and Buddy Franklin waltz back to the goal square. Luke Parker, you just think conditions like today are made for Luke Parker. strong body, great will.
Gone. Gained 30 metres with the slap. Oliver, clean collect, but then Jones was able to get him, and it could travel no further. Hanbury out flat on the ground. Came back to him almost. Vince.
Gee, that was good.
Gained another 45.
Gee, almost stood up in it there, Hutto.
He did. Petrarca did stand up the second time. Outstanding play by the youngster.
He's so powerful, isn't he? Christian Petrarca, sure, he's playing his 8th game, and he's just about Melbourne's strongest player physically.
Yeah, no one certainty about him, Dermy. He'll never play basketball again in the off-season.
No, that didn't end well for him or Paul Roos, and the coach certainly let him know about it.
Holding Melbourne.
It's a couple of times Buddy's been penalised.
He's done well, McDonald.
Well, McDonald's getting the right starting position on him, and Lance is trying to cling on and claw on and toss him aside.
Well done, Nankervis on Gone. Parker came, got what he came for, but the handball wasn't perfect. Vince with the counter thrust through the legs. Kennedy has found the going tough today of Melbourne. Hewitt picked up the ball, knew it was coming. He's trying to knee his way over the boundary line.
He was looking for the go-to drop the knees there, Georgie Hewitt, but they were a wake-up to him.
Just crawling over towards the boundary line, and some respite for the players.
Maxie starting from outside.
A goal each in this quarter. 1-3 for Sydney, 1-2 for Melbourne. At 18-point deficit facing Melbourne right now. Bug.
Good hands.
Tringo got it to young Hunt, and the smother from Lloyd was outstanding.
That's a wonderful smother, isn't it? And the thing is, if you just rush your kick, because they're so attuned to smothering it, the smother actually is a great gain on meterage as well.
Play on.
No easy exit from a stoppage like that. Look at Kennedy just trying to pull his way through. Yeah, it was clean, sharp hands from Tringo. Tyson couldn't take advantage. Watts shows them how. Lovely little snare and then kick back to the wing. Hogan used the knees well, slides in, looks further afield. Dawes is running back towards the 50. He's petitioning someone to come up and give him one sort of option. Either way, it's an in-between kick. Grundy got a fist to it. At the back, Kennedy of Melbourne. A handball for Oliver. Next in line, Kent. Just tried to charge through. Jones, same tactics. Now it's Kennedy of Sydney. He'll get there first. Wagner in pursuit. Tried to go off the ground, had a swing and a miss. Still can't get clean disposal, Kennedy. But now he does. He was patient. He's chipped the ball just into the patch there with no one, hoping that someone from his team could run on. Rowan did his best. Hunt, though, was able to stand up. Buddy was closing.
Back, Melbourne. Me. Play on.
Delayed advantage, everyone press pause, and now Viney takes it, deep kick, Kennedy well placed, no mark, it's Petrarca again. Held without the ball just momentarily, goes again the young man. Jones, they're careful not to infringe, Petrarca dumps him, Petrarca from the boundary line, and over on the full.
That was well umpired by the umpire. It wasn't the umpire's fault. I mean, it was a natural progression of play. It's not as if the ball got killed in its motion. It was still flowing forward. That was the player's fault that they stopped playing.
What happened here is he played on outside.
Handball behind through the posts.
Look at Johnny Longways. He's got to think Alair needs to know the rules.
He's got two hands over the mouth. That could mean they're pretty serious mutterings from the coach. Melbourne's threatening here. Tyson did his best. Kent. Parker. It's not out yet. Still very dangerous position.
A couple of alter egos of superheroes there, Kent and Parker.
Oliver. Smith. Oliver again. Easy to give away a needless free in these circumstances. The numbers continue to multiply. Glut of players around the ball.
Thank you.
Still 18 points the difference.
Thank you.
Mills to Grundy. And there's some territory gained. The danger not passed, but eased. And McVeigh, similar tactics. Now, how's the umpire going to read this? Rowan was close to it. And hence the throw-in.
Very smart. He knew he didn't want to belt that ball off the ground then. He just tried to position him, make him look like he was going to run onto it again.
16th disposal. He's going to 88% efficiency in this weather. It's unbelievable.
Towers for Mitchell. Protection required. Kennedy just tapped it rather than grabbed it. Hanbury found a way to manoeuvre himself into the action. The fumble costing Jack. No free kick for the hot contact that might have been momentarily high. Sinclair skies it back. Nankervis coming late again. He loves it. Trying to capsize a pack or two.
It's a good hands by Chris Dawes from ground level.
McDonald wary of Buddy, and Dawes needs to mark this. Through the free, Dawes quickly passing it off to Wagner. Challenging one here for Petrarca. Tough on the wing, especially with someone like Rampy bearing down. Takes it to the line. And over. John Monmouth's just easing the hand off the mouth a little bit. That's his go-to position, I think, right now. Not a lot the coaches can do. Players are out there in conditions like this. Hanbury back for Mitchell. Up to half forward, and it just goes over the head of Nankervis. McDonald again. Oh, a fumble by Oscar. And Gary Rowan hoping to capitalise on that. Kieran Jack comes to his aid. Franklin was the core of another attack for the Swans, and Buddy takes the mark.
Just going to say, Hutto, he needs to lift, because I was thinking just that Tom McDonald got on top of him. I know he's kicked the 2 goals. That was a great centre by Kieran Jack. Career set shots. 49 goals from this position, dude.
Well, it takes into account the one he missed in the second quarter down the other end, because he was 17 to the side.
He does love this side of the ground. He loves this spot, being able to kick from 50. Maybe he was a little bit close for him. No, it swings back, and that's his third, Buddy Franklin.
Well, you look up the other end, Derm, and you think you need a key forward to stand up who doesn't normally do it in the air. Who was going to do it? And I don't think Dawes and I don't think Hogan have got the ability this man has got at ground level and the agility to turn players around. But that's a fantastic lead. Good mark under pressure, and you need to finish in these where they're worth. It's worth gold to have the goals on these days.
Beautiful finish from Lance Franklin, and he's so mobile. That's what's getting him those types of shots at the goal. He's up level with Josh Kennedy now, and he's got 1/4 and 6 minutes to try and creep ahead in the Coleman medal.
6, his biggest haul against the Demons back in 2008. There is the race for the Coleman.
Straight back, hold the meter.
Getting close to 50 goals at the top of the Coleman.
Holding, Sydney, back here. Holding your arm, no, no. Here.
And Hanbury ready to pounce and get the receive. Fooled everyone.
Oh, did he what?
Looked like he was labouring.
He was holding his ribs.
Careful kick from Vandenberg, and they're going back into attack. Just got to plot a path that can get them in a position to kick a goal, Melbourne. Watts, Kent waits down. Fine, he charged through, spurring into the pack. Smith sends it out. Back to the wing. Parker flies. Over the top, Watts again. Saw off one, not the second. No tackle, the umpire deems. Tyson for Kent. Hard to handle. Big Max. Sinclair, they're getting further away from their own goal, Sydney, and closer to Melbourne's.
High on side. High on.
Just under 5 minutes remaining in this third term. Did Nathan Jones cop one then? Bug. Try handling the ball cleanly in that. Squirts out, literally.
Oh, good play by Rowan off the ball then.
Lloyd further along. McLean cleared the path of big Toby Nankervis. The big fella maybe just tried to be a little bit too glamorous. Hunt to centre half forward. Big intersection this one. Parker one way, Petrarca the other. Able to feed the handball off to Vandenberg, and now Watts into the middle. A little shake from Burney. It's deep. Into the pocket lunging out of doors and Grundy had it covered. Is it deliberate?
Oh, no.
It is.
Well, can you tell me what he's...
I'm still of the opinion, Shorey, you're allowed to knock the ball away from your opponent.
Well, he was there.
And sometimes that knock's going to go over the boundary line.
He might have just thought, well, the umpire's got to think, has he got any other option? Could he have grabbed it?
Yeah. It's getting to the stage where you need to knock it away from your opponent, but you have to try and keep it in play.
And that's the rule.
Tough kick.
Very tough kick on a day like today. Chris Dawes can't execute the way he would have liked. And Melbourne's issues in that forward line continue.
Well, let's have a look. Did he have an... Oh, gee, he was holding it. He had Dawes, his hands on his... Yeah, no, you probably got to go that way. I'll go with the umpire on that one, Durr. Grab it, get tackled and holding the ball instead of intentional.
McVeigh just looking for the dab kick. Good pace shown again. Georgie Hewitt managed to escape and link up with Jones. Promising build-up. Unfortunately, the kick is wide and Hunt sliding in to take the mark.
The fact that Hewitt took them on with his foot pace then...
Might have been Towers, actually.
Was it? Well,
yeah.
Well, it means that the ball's 100 metres down the line. That was so well done by him.
Now, Jones feeds it back to Tyson. Hunt had to wear one. The Swans edging closer to goal. McLean.
My ball. Let go. Thank you.
Whoa.
He actually went almost like he accelerated once he...
Well, he did. He couldn't stop.
Because he turned onto his back.
So dangerous, isn't it, on a day like today? Towers got it down
Play on.
via Hanbury. Well, that looked like a throw from where we were. Heaney, full rotation. McDonald trudging after it.
He got one in the hip there. Is it Tom McDonald? Just grabbing at the hip there, just near the point post. Oscar?
Oscar, yep. It'll be Hunt's ball. Back out of 50. Margin still at 23. Melbourne kicked just one goal this quarter, one in each of the quarters.
A little bit of a task there, Hutto. 24 points at this stage of the game. They're 23 points down. So, you know, I think they've got to get some ball over the back. The Swans are playing so well in their defence of getting a player always behind the line.
Almost double them in tackles. The Swans, 121 tackles.
Too high, Sydney.
So what you're saying is to push them up a bit, Shorey.
Yeah,
and you want to sprint back over. The only problem is you've got...
They keep dropping back.
You've got two out of your six forwards are...
too tall.
Dawes and Hogan, who are pretty lumbering and slow.
But Hogan plays behind the ball really well. He reads the ball well.
Mills won that little battle. Teeing up Jones and now Lloyd to half forward. They come from every angle for it. Through Frost at the back, Jetta as the insurance, and now Hunt with that dash.
Well done. Well done.
Got clear. He didn't like what was ahead, so he handballed, and he'll be questioning the wisdom of that, or the execution at least. McVeigh back through the middle again. Now Rose finds himself forward of centre. Tried to shape the kick down the line for Heaney. Can't get a look at it. Now he has. His patience was rewarded. McLean has kicked that reasonably aimlessly, but you forgive him on a day like today. Rose got back, and it was not dead yet. Out of there from Frost. Jack, this is Dawes. Got past everyone. Dawes recovering well, but Grundy refused to be passed. And out on the wing, Dawes positioned himself nicely. Gawn, Tyson, little pass for Jones. It's going to sneak away from him, though. Hanbury wading back through. And they're down to the last minute and a half. And the Swans relentless in their effort to full forward. The fist is on. Towers has had a big day, looking for his second, and coming mighty close.
Little wins out on the wing, turn the ball around. A little win for Sydney was when the ball gets kicked to Nathan Jones by Tyson. It misses by a metre, and as you called, it sneaks away from him, and that's where it breaks down. They've got to be either long with no option of ever turning it over, or hit the target.
Trengove timely again. Watts is trying to lift his team. Biney, the half forward. Kennedy in front, McVeigh. With all his guile and experience. And a commanding performance across half-back from Jared McVeigh. Linked up with Kennedy to help them get the ball out to the wing. And young Rose first to it. And the fin was successful. Swatted the bug and kicked the half forward. McGlynn on the path to goal was tempted.
He was ahead of the mark. Great running.
Stop, then went again.
Great running by McGlynn from the half-back line then.
That is absolutely precise umpiring. He's spot on.
Sinclair wants it deep.
You.
McGlynn tries to oblige. Everyone up, no one down. The ball squirts through for a minor score.
So Chris Donlan was the umpire then. He took them, stopped, but them in mind. But he decided to play on, so you cannot allow that to go on.
Hunt put his faith in Tom McDonald. Clever enough there from Tyson to get it away. It's good early body work by Rampy. Petrarca not happy with himself. Frustrated that he was nudged out of it. But another professional quarter from this very professional team, the Sydney Swans. They were able to edge out the Demons, the best that Melbourne could throw at them. And it was only 1-3 for Melbourne for the quarter. The Swans 2-5. Their lead increases to 25. Tough afternoon for all here at the SCG. It's the Swans by just over 4 goals. The other big match to come this afternoon is from Etihad Stadium, and I'm sure it'll be in much better conditions than we've got in at the SCG this afternoon. Essendon, fresh from a much-needed 8-day break, take on a huge challenge. The Giants, who are still learning to win away from home, so we'll see how that one fares this afternoon. The Giants, obviously the hot favourites, and beanies to the go, even with the roof closed, it seems, for Toby Green. Sydney, the other team from the Harbour City, the Swans taking on Melbourne this afternoon. The rain relentless here. 6:13:49 to 3:6:24, and out in it all afternoon enjoying himself has been Barry Hall.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Well, Melbourne have really struggled to score here this afternoon, and the big reason for that has been Jared McVeigh. He's been that spare man. Every time they look up inside 50, he's been that spare man, just sitting in front of the key forwards and giving a little bit of support. He's had 21 disposals. He's going to 86% disposal efficiency in these sort of conditions. He's such a smart player, such a smart ball user coming out of defence. He's worth his weight in gold today. And just on the tackle count, boys, I'm keeping an eye on that. 121 for the Sydney Swans, so they've got to beat 142. I reckon they'll get that job done.
Thank you very much, Barry. Now, if we have a look at the lab here, to the right-hand side of your screen, we've got Benny McGlynn, and Bernie Vince is responsible for him. Benny McGlynn's very good at running his man up the ground, turning him around and coming back this way. Bernie Vince gets absorbed into the traffic going that way. So when they can't impact the contest, look what happens. Bernie gets trapped in no man's land. Benny McGlynn turns around and comes with it. He drill runs back into the forward line. Rose gathers the ball. Rose fends off, and McGlynn keeps powering on and receives this mark just on the edge of 50. So very, as you call it, Tony Shaw, couldn't impact the contest.
Yep.
So turns around and gets dangerous.
Well, Bernie Vince, I think, would want to look at that and say, when you're a defender on a small forward who's roll up the ground, your job is to stop him getting back into there. He just was ball watching. So not a great defensive setup there.
Centre bounce. Melbourne obviously need goals early as Tyson eases out of the centre and put his hopes in Hogan. There's a nice little manoeuvre from Oliver. Hogan back for Kennedy. It just doesn't come together for him. Been a tough afternoon for Ben Kennedy, just the 6 disposals. And Stretch has struggled as well with just 5.
On the metre.
Those that have had to live in the forward line for much of the day have found it difficult. 25 points the difference as it stands. And shuffled back over the line by Tyson. Deliberate. There's been a few of those today.
Play on.
Kennedy gets the call. Rush the kick. Franklin's coming for it. Franklin doesn't mark. McDonald stayed down.
Stay under it.
It was a good decision as it turns out. They were coming for Oliver. Trying to fight the fight there, Tyson. Oliver goes back the other way. Vandenberg. Viney. Hanbury. Lloyd. Heaney.
Now, if we pull away there, we see literally a 4-on-1 with Isaac Heaney. He probably needed to do better to keep that ball alive, and they get the chance, Melbourne, to pump it back down the line.
They all come for the ruck contest. Viney had a big swish at it but missed. Vandenberg got enough, but it's just pitching beautifully inside the line.
What would you have done, Tony Shaw, if you had called that deliberate?
Might have walked.
It was perfectly positioned, wasn't it? There was a rush kick.
Probably wouldn't have walked too far in these conditions, sure.
No.
Margin 25. Where's it going to come from for the Demons? Jones, maybe. Vince, highest possession winner on the ground. Aliir gets a fist in. McVeigh tried to keep the hands clear. And okay.
I think he did handball it.
Barry, just down at ground level, that was one of the rare times that we've seen Melbourne go into their forward line and Sydney didn't outnumber them. They've done something different. Have they manned up down there and made sure that McVeigh doesn't get easy, I suppose, run around without an opponent? He did have an opponent who tackled him.
Yeah, they're starting to man him up now. As I said, 21 disposals, and how well he's been using the foot. He's been damaging for the Sydney Swans. So they're starting to man him up now.
Kennedy to half forward again. It's all about gaining space, and he's kicked a few out in the full today, Kennedy.
So if we look at this, Melbourne had 2 extras behind the footy when it came down there. Then Sydney have gone man on man in defence with no extra. So Sydney's extra 2 must be up around the footy. So they're going to find more of their share of this scrubber packed footy. They're going to have more bodies around it.
I cannot remember Melbourne looking to the corridor to see if they could switch. I know it's wet, but you've got to, you're 4 goals down. You have to win the game by taking it on a bit.
Gawn batted it down for Jones.
Hi, Melbourne.
Got clipped on the way through. Yeah, a little left arm came across his forehead.
Shake of the head.
Thanks, Heath.
Nathan Jones has toiled away as always today. His 20th disposal. The 2 ruckmen positioned there. No for Gawn. And Oliver dumped Smith after the ball went out, but not vigorous enough for the umpire to be too concerned.
What's the best way for Melbourne to structure up their forward line? They've kicked 3 goals in 3 quarters. They need to try and win this game. What's the best way to do it?
You've got to have smalls. I'd be taking either Dawes off and just go with a small setup, and Petrarca might be the bloke you try and go through a bit.
Vandenberg, but Lloyd there for the Swans. Aliir, the next handball, able to ease Grundy into the space that he needed. And out wide, Gary Rowan. Not going to be run down by too many. We know Frost got pace, but can he hunt down Rowan? He tried his best. Buddy in the pocket looking to get onto it, but McDonald has his measure this time. And Wagner sent it straight into the crowd. Under the umbrellas.
The other thing, Barry, is if you've got 2 big lumbering key forwards who are on railway tracks, you don't want to mess around and try and hit them lace out. You want to thump the ball in the air and get traffic at their feet.
Franklin provided an option for Rowan.
He's never out of it, is he?
No. There hasn't been too many left-footers in the game that would be feeling comfortable to shoot for goal from here. Now, given the conditions, it might be too tough for Buddy.
Except for him, because he slides it the other way against total left footer from that level. I don't know whether the wet weather's going to stop him from doing it this time.
The ball might be a bit heavy to actually get that. If you're cricketing terminology, you'd call it reverse swing at the end.
Here's Buddy Franklin, and he can't get the angles he would have liked. 3 goals, 2 for the afternoon for Buddy.
Gee, Aliir's looked good today.
Now, the D's have to take this on here. You're going out wide, it's easy to defend. I think you've got to take a few down the middle, Doom. The old knock-on theory.
Hanbury services Parker, who does likewise for Tom Mitchell, who hugs in the chest mark. Goal was never an option. Franklin was.
Holding Franklin.
Free kick to Buddy.
That was definitive.
And a little clinch of the fist from Dan Hanbury. He was pretty happy with the decision of the umpire. Because this is going to make it awfully hard for the Demons now if Buddy can convert.
That kick in, though.
There's a chance of missing, looking at the history.
Yeah, he's too close. That sounded weird, but he's...
There was nothing weird about the kick. It's straight through the middle from Buddy. That's 4.
I cannot understand this kick in, Derm. I'm thinking you have to kick 4 goals.
He kicked a 4-on-5 as well.
Sorry?
He kicked a 4 teammates against 5 opponents, and the 5th was standing out the back.
Yeah, have
Parker.
a look. Well, this is the kick. I tell you what, it's not a bad kick. Just had a bit of height on it, and we can see Buddy coming in from the side. Yeah, the jumper pull. It was Josh Wagner then.
Yeah.
No doubt about the jumper. Oh.
McDonald wouldn't be too pleased that Buddy's been given a free like that.
Well, the other thing is you're not going to mark the ball very often, even if you run and jump like that.
Even if it was dry, Lance is probably not going to mark that.
Margin crept out to 32 points down. The Swans want more. Mitchell heaved it. Rose, Sinclair. Wagner fighting on for the D's.
Yeah, when I said he was a bit close for normal, and that is because Lance's kicks always have been, he kicks to the centre of the goal square, and then it gets that little tail back in, which opens the face of the goal. If he's in too close, it doesn't get that reverse.
Yeah, it doesn't have time, does it, to do that? And they pushed it deep again away from Rowan.
To see Gary Rowan getting some football continuity in his game. I think the most he's ever played in one run was 13 games.
Look at that. Shorey.
Another opportunity. Towers got a good instinct around the sticks, it seems. Dean Towers brilliantly waited for a goal. He had to work all that out in his head quickly as to how high to kick it and make sure he could clear the defence. And Dean Towers has had a terrific day after coming back into the team. 21 disposals.
Oh, another clearance from Kennedy, though. Hutto, fantastic. That's probably the 3rd goal assist, I would think, to Josh Kennedy today. They've just been sharper around the pack. You know, they've just been cleaner than the Melbourne midfield.
What a response it's been after the Swans went down last week to GWS. You back them to fight back every time. The professionals that they have. And some of the youngsters have really played their part. Towers been a multiple goal kicker. Rose, as they line up, just waited Rowan to give the handball. Hewitt got to the right place. It favoured his left boot. And they're racking them up one after another now, the Swans.
Well, another clearance. Clean hands again. Mainly for Zach Jones. He's had a good game, Zach Jones.
He has, hasn't he? This is one of the better games I've seen him play. But as good as you could possibly say, this is wet weather showbiz footy.
Yep.
This last goal. And Gary Rowan, I'm sure earlier in the match, he probably would take this shot about now. Swing onto the right foot. But he looks to give it off and share it around.
And there's the ladder, so the Swans moving up to 2nd. And they kick enough goals from here, they might even challenge that Geelong percentage. They'd need to really keep firing them through. At the rate they're going, who knows? But they are certainly going to be one of the contenders in September, all things being equal.
Smart.
And he's got it again, Towers. This time he couldn't get all the numbers together in his head and sort it out off the boot.
Yeah. So he got them all together quickly last time.
Not this time.
Yeah.
You've got to execute it.
26 years of age, originally from Colac, so he's been around a while, but it's only his 3rd season of AFL. He made his debut in 2014, Tower, so he's an experienced player, but not so much at the level.
We should have handballed then.
Rowan, here he is again, Towers. He does handball to Buddy's left side, but he thought about going solo. In the end, he submitted and laid the handball off, and it all ends a bit lamely for the Swans that time. Out of their bug, back to the middle, and the Swans again in just the right place. It's a bit of a glue pot now for Rampy. Extra difficult in picking it up. Lear was set up, but was able to release the hands. Demons have got to the footy that time in enough numbers to win the contest. Vince came charging through. Hanbury dug it out of there. Here's Franklin going to work. Towers again. He's everywhere at the moment. Laying off the handball again. They keep lining up for more. McGlynn.
He's always been very good, Benny McGlynn, at that half snap, half thrust forward kick around the corner and hitting the goal face with it. Just keep the ball going in their direction. Good finish. So what's that little junk kick forward? Just keep the ball moving. We have a look at the score sources
stoppages
there. Yeah, the turnovers has hurt them even in the wet 7-7, but 3-7, 10 shots from stoppages. So they've really bashed them up around that area.
Yes, what a quarter by the Swans. They've put the foot down. They've already kicked 4 goals for the term.
Oh, McVeigh, gutsy stuff.
Jones, and they've got numbers out the back, the Swans, but Aaliyah able to be that steadying influence, kicked it back to the middle.
He showed some poise with his kicking too today. He understands what's forward of him every time, makes the right decisions most of the time.
This will be very good for him too, Hutto, Aaliyah, because his man, Jesse Hogan, at this point in time, is just running forward to play, trying to chase a few kicks, trying to hold up the damn wall as well.
It is a bit that way at the moment. Swans total domination. Mills, what a well-placed kick. So much so that McGlynn could take a chest mark 25 to 30 metres out. It's all become a bit hard for the D's now.
12 men inside defensive 50 there for the Demons, and still just that little quick, fast dropping footy in there. It just drops to the right spot. Benny McGlynn cashes in.
So McGlynn just kicked his only goal a few moments ago. Thought it was so good, I'll have another. And they're racking them up one after another in this final term.
Well, it wears you down, doesn't it? It wears you down when you go forward and the number of times that Melbourne have gone through. And you're just not scoring, so it just wears you down. At the moment, they've just capitulated now. But this has come about by the midfield of the Swans dominating. They were dominating themselves last week. But they're just getting out wide, just using the ball well. And look, there was 3 options there, maybe even 4 Sydney Swans players getting behind their man. I think you said it to me, Doom. You said playing in front. Yabby Jones used to say play in front all the time, or someone said you don't have to. You've got to be smarter at times.
You've got to play where the ball's going.
Or where it ain't, you don't want to be there.
One of those old adages which is not always true.
No, I agree with you.
Stretch. We're trying to hold up the Swans charge again. Mills.
So they've got superior numbers here, Hutto. This is when they have to talk and shepherd for each other.
Frost for Vandenberg. The same wavelength, I think. But then straight into Callum Mills.
That's the one, Shorey and Barry Hall. I'm saying if you've got Dawes, if you've got Hogan down the line, you thump the ball 55 down the line to them and at least give them a chance to bring the ball to ground. They might mark one above the head for the day, but you've got to give them the shot.
Tyson Jones was about to be restrained, still got it to half forward. Kennedy. Mills continues to impress. Now Franklin can't get the run of it this time. Oscar McDonald. Frost, a fumble. Allowed others in, but still got the handball away. Bug. And down the line the kick goes from Oscar McDonald. Kennedy to Vince. Aaliyah, well positioned to spoil at the very least. And then recover and just escort it out.
Great call. Just that you saw his agility and recovery then. His footsteps were just fantastic.
That's good, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was fantastic.
And the word has just gone up on the scoreboard. No kick to kick after the ground after the game. And by unanimous boos from the
What
crowd.
about the young kids? They would have loved it out there. I can understand the ground. Keepers not wanting to have.
Probably been the least appreciative curator in the history of Australian sporting grounds here of kick to kick.
Kick designed for Kennedy, never made it. Tyson's toiled hard all day for the Demons, but
yeah, 15 possessions, Hutto.
not enough really.
Yeah, but not a lot, not as much support as you would have thought for Nathan Jones in contested possession. Bernie Vince has won 12 contested possessions. Jack Viney 11. Jack Watts has got 10, but then thereafter it falls away pretty steeply.
Yeah, Jack Watts has done some good things. He's probably surprised he's had 16 disposals, but hasn't been able to be a way for them to get to goal. So I'm hanging on Vince there.
But you look through the Sydney lineup, Hanbury 17 contested, Kennedy 15, McVeigh 12, Parker 12. They're the same old names who are big, strong midfielders who will put their nose over it.
Jones will never give up for Melbourne, you know that. He's hoping that good times aren't far away for the Demons. Made some big leaps forward over the last couple of years. Maybe, not sure what today shows, maybe there's still a bit of a gap.
It's a bit hard.
It is hard.
Well, because they've scored so well this year, and just a day like this, it doesn't happen. Although, you know, you look at Sydney's kicked the 11 goals, so 80 points in these conditions will win you at most games.
Crowd of 19,000 at the SCG. They were expecting 30 before the weather, so it's played a big part. Halfway through this final term.
Let's have a look at Bernie.
Oh, we've made contact with the head.
He
did get up.
He does get into that match review panel's reports every now and then, Bernie. Little bits and pieces. Alir. Stolen by Trengove. That was impressive, but again, it's that last possession before goal that's let them down. Challenging kick for Towers, but they've got support all around. Jack back into the middle for Rose as things open up. They've got plenty of numbers powering down this side of the ground if he wants to think about the switch. Towers again, an excellent... Oh, we had Kennedy by hand, but why not get it into Franklin, who's hungry for a fifth? Not then. Another look at Bernie coming up.
All right, John. Now, let's have a look where the ball is. He's committed to the contest with the ball there, and it just squeezes out the back. That's not going to be great for Byrne, but you're talking about degrees of like half a second when the ball's there at the contest and when he commits to the contact.
You can't change angles as much today as what you would have in dry weather.
Yeah.
Didn't happen there for Kennedy of Melbourne. McVeigh waiting, just pondering whether he can work his way through, and he can. Fantastic awareness of what was around him and what he had to do to get past. And then gives the ball straight back. Gone.
11th, 12th possession coming up for Maxi.
47 hit-outs.
So you've got to be able to contest that. There's two key forwards within 2 to 3 metres of where that ball was marked. And they're both big men.
Found it a bit tough that time, Nankervis. Viney decided to revise his decision, giving it back to Watts. Finally, they'll go in, and he's claimed the mark, Hogan, and there was no one there to really argue. And they thought, all right, we'll give it to you. A bit dubious, has to be said.
We have got four umpires officiating over this weekend, Hutto.
Yep.
So you'd hope someone saw the right angle on it. Pretty good conversion from this area.
15 gone. 15 gone.
So Jesse Hogan, 13 disposals today. 4 marks. And yet to kick a goal. He's on those stutter steps. And it's going to drop short and be a little astray anyway.
Went right out. Way out to the right again, like we've seen when it's just a little bit beyond his distance, and that's the wet weather today. A lot of water in the air, the rain, it strikes the ball as it is on its passage.
And Hanbury gets a little help on the way. 26 disposals for Dan Hanbury, having an outstanding season. He'll be right up there, you would suspect, in Brownlow medal contention. Career best 31 disposals per game.
Bernie's back out there, the back of the pack, goes straight to him. Well done.
Back inside 50. The scramble is on. They just pile on one after another. And another ball up. Bernie up to 27 disposals, equal with Josh Kennedy on the ground. And Curvis and gone to the advantage of Viney, but McVeigh was also reading it the same way. Kennedy of Melbourne swooping.
He picked it up cleanly, didn't he? The blue Speedo's on.
Expect go for a dip after this. It has not stopped raining, really, since about 11 o'clock this morning here in Sydney. Hasn't eased off at all, either, for the players. Wagner and straight into the vigorous Nankervis. He's still feeling it now.
Is he what?
That was a roadblock, wasn't it?
Baz, I know you're excited. You've got the record for us?
Yeah, I'm doing a happy dance down here, boys. 144, so they've beaten it by 2. Good times at the Swans.
Well, I mean, they did play in the wet a couple of weeks ago and they had the massive numbers that day as well. They have struggled at times in the wet in the past, so I mean, it's just a mantra, I'm sure, of part of the way they play anyway, but to lay that amount of tackles, it's phenomenal.
You called it the mantra. It's showing a real accent on what they want within their games, and that is to put enormous pressure on the opposition. And as we say, the all-time record since they've been counting, 144. We're up to 147 tackles now.
I mean, you can have a bit of a giggle about it, Durham, but it's been wet weather for a lot of years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
They've totally dominated. Melbourne have had 73 tackles.
You don't have an appetite for the contest and body, body checking somebody and the physicality of the game if you get that many tackles.
Maybe an opportunity now for Oscar McDonald. They've been all too rare for Melbourne, particularly since half-time. Swans again. Parker turned his body at the right time and then had to go for another dip.
Well,
there's Jake Lloyd. Hanbury just comes over the top. He's getting some treatment for that little ankle problem. There he is. Not ideal with about 6 or 7 minutes to go when you've laboured through so much. Gone. It's not getting any easier to get any semblance of clean possession for the players.
There's going to be ball up. Do you see Kennedy then? Just how difficult he is to take to ground, even in this type of weather. So Lloyd's had the running repairs. He looks like he's capable of coming back out there. Yeah, Kennedy cannot be taken off his feet in those circumstances.
Jones.
Well, that's nearly holding the ball.
On the ball, dived on the footy.
Not nearly. It is.
Nathan Jones, he's tried his heart out today, but no doubt about that free kick.
Some heavy legs out there right now. Heaney back to the wing. They congregate again. Rowan came with enthusiasm. Kennedy about to be tackled. So again, he's played the boundaries all day. Josh Kennedy kicked a few on the full and been pinged once.
See, the heat's out of the game now, Hutto.
Yep.
To me, that's deliberate. He bought and ate off another 30 metres, but he kicked for the boundary to get a stoppage up the line.
And that's what he got. Who's to say he won't get it again? He almost did.
High on.
I've been impressed with the Lear, Durham. Yeah. He's one grabs, in this sort of weather, you just see some signs. He's got good closing speed. He's read the ball fairly well. Bit of a future there, I would think.
Tyson got disposed of. McDonald will heave it further down the line. And there's a terrific grab. Clean catch from Petrarca. Holy Mark, what will he do with it now?
Stay out, play on.
Peers forward. Hesitated, decided to just dab it for Jack Watts.
Swinging board.
Hogan is deep. Grundy, the little nudge, and his 200th. Did enough again. Hogan tried to keep it alive for Kennedy. Handballed it straight, gave it straight over to Rowan, who charges out of there. Heaves it back to the wing, and we might have a series of throw-ins on this side of the ground just for a bit of variety. Or has that been pinged? Pinged as well.
He's under pressure coming out of back half. There was 2 players or 2 pairs forward of the ball. Let's have a look now. He's under pressure. That's a kick to the player like Hanbury. You don't know how far it's going to go, do you? Like, I love the rule, but I think that one was a bit overfishing then.
Again, the numbers multiply around the footy. Just comes out marginally. Parker for Towers. Here's Buddy trying to wind up for his 5th. Got Frost where he wanted him and forced the free kick. An advantage paid, and Lloyd's going to kick the goal. Poor old Buddy missed out on a bag of 5.
And the Coleman lead, wouldn't he? Or was he already one up? He's already one up a cup, but he'd be dirty on that, Buddy. I know what Durham would have said. Get out of here, you parasite. What are you doing there?
No advantage up. Bring it back.
Well, everybody stopped. So did, was it Jake Lloyd who stopped too? So
yeah, everyone stopped. And the lead is extended now to 61 points here at the SCG. Gawn still cracking in, so too Jones and Parker. Down to the last 4 minutes now.
Tell you what, it's brought back some memories, though, this type of weather, Dermot.
Yeah, we don't see it all
out
that
at Waverley and some days out there.
He's kicked 6 goals in this last quarter, Sydney.
Yeah.
They kicked 6 for the rest of the day.
See, that type of kick as well, Shorey. I know he's trying to do the team thing and kick it to a teammate, but he fans it out, not under pressure at 45 degrees. These conditions, you've got 2 key forwards, just bang it 50 straight down the middle.
Squeeze it inside again. McGlynn with the collect. Kennedy runs to the right spot. Can't control it this time. And getting some good drive out of defence. Viney took it from Hunt, sends it wide, but Zach Jones read the drop of the ball and watched the switch here. A little excited by that. Kennedy gets the opportunity because of Oliver's anticipation skills. But the goalkeeper is Gary Rowan. He can send the Swans away again. McVeigh. He can pace down the ground. Grundy, one-on-one. Kennedy, hard body to move. Well, did he get a handball out? The umpire said he did, even if it wasn't effective. Kick goes forward from Jones. Oliver inside the last 3 minutes now. Viney just tries to hack it away and hope for the best. Petrarca. Big arc from Hogan. Fist from Grundy. Sweeping at the back. Gary Rowan down the line. Bug. Extra effort to try and get there and close out. Couldn't quite. Tringove back to Bug. Manufactured the kick into the danger area. Definitive fist down from Rampy, but it was still alive, and Hogan at last was able to get some joy in front of the sticks. And they've managed to goal the quarter, Melbourne, for the game.
Looked like little Kennedy, Ben Kennedy, had to stand under that footy, and just by being there, he forced the Swans. This kick coming in here, he forces the Swans by standing right in the middle of 3. It was Viney, of course it was Viney, and Brave forces them to spoil. The spoil comes, it's just going to go randomly anywhere, and then it's a 50-50 ball.
So percentage creeping up to 140.9 for the Sydney Swans. And Melbourne were going to break a record against Sydney for their lowest score since 1919 if they hadn't been able to kick that goal. So thankfully for them, they were able to do that against Sydney. Yeah. So the ball back in the middle. Parker delayed the give, trying to put it out for Rose. Almost got it. Now he has, and he straight away hasn't. And the Demons getting numbers around the footy now, trying to carry it down as a team. Kent puts it out in front of Melbourne's Kennedy. Ben Kennedy tried to scoot away. And again, Hogan might get a couple of late goals as the rain continues to smash down here at the SCG.
Struggled from about a metre further out than where he will kick this one from, about 6 or 7 minutes ago. So that'll be in his head. I need to give it more air. I need to give it more stick. I just got to get it over the line here.
He slings out wide, doesn't he? Yeah. Right there.
And this time tugs it to the left severely. Out of bounds. On the bounce, was it?
One of the things you've got to say as a forward, when you go to the goal line, for a kick like that, you say, if the ball remains in play, where is the only places it can go? And as soon as he's just on his last step at kicking on these wet days, you then make your motion to that spot and you get first dibs at it.
We know Petrarca's going to go on ball. I just wonder when that time will come, Dern. I just don't want to, whether he's done enough work. Swans put him in there a number of times, I would think.
Have a bye after this, and then the Dogs, the Cats and the Hawks. So it's a big 3 weeks coming up after the break for the Sydney Swans. McDonald, 40 seconds remaining. Found a friend in Frost. Melbourne also coming up for a rest. And then have to gather themselves for Adelaide, Freo and St Kilda. Game against the Crows, all important if they want to challenge for the 8. And then they just must win against Fremantle and St Kilda. They've got finals on their mind. Parker flew. Sinclair stripped of it. Parker trying to the very end. Stretch. Maxey hasn't had the influence he would have liked. Slides it Hogan's way. And again,
there's that last man in defence.
And it's an advantage when he can sprint away like Gary Rowan. Back to half, back to Heaney. Siren sounds here at the SCG. And the Swans bounce back, and don't they do it in style. And just a reminder, don't forget about the Sydney Swans and your premiership calculations. A big gap between the Swans and the Demons this afternoon in the wet at the SCG. And they head to their bye before they take on some premiership contenders in a huge month coming up. It's Sydney by 55 points at the SCG, with Franklin kicking 4.
Just having a look at that final wash-up in the tackle count. 155 tackles for Sydney. That's extraordinary. Top of them, Luke Parker with 17. Isaac Heaney got 14. 10 to Jared McVeigh. He had a wonderful, wonderful game.
Jones brothers, boys? Yeah, against each other for the first time.
Played very well, Zach Jones, I thought, today.
Yeah, 25 disposals. Same number for Zach and Nathan.
What do you reckon the conversation is there?
Well, you're just too good for us today, I would think. And well done, keep it going, because I reckon he's going to be a very good player, Zach Jones. He's slipped into that defensive part really well. He'll play on the ball a number of times, I would think, in the future.
Bit of talent there with Isaac Heaney and Christian Petrarca.
Played in good spirits today.
Yep. But we've got too good around the ball, too clean. Kennedy, Hanbury.
Let's get down to Baz.
Barry Hall.
Well, it was a fantastic day for defenders. The weather certainly turned it on for you, but important game in the end because Melbourne were in pretty good form last week.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been playing really good footy, and we knew that we'd get a contest for 4 quarters, which we did. And put our heads over all game, and the conditions make it nice and easy, as you said, for defenders, which you wouldn't like, mate, as it is. But yeah, good to get over the line and have a good win.
You haven't played 200 games. There's a guy that's played 2 games, Aaliyah. He was fantastic today.
Yeah, Aaliyah just, he looks like a natural, mate. He's a really good athlete. He reads the ball well, and 2 games, but he looks like he's played about 50 or 100. So he's exciting for the future, definitely.
Obviously, your midfield was dominant today, but the tackling pressure around the footy, geez, the wet weather suits us.
Yeah, absolutely. The boys after last week was a bit disappointing in the midfield, and they bounced back this week. And to their credit, Parksy, those guys just hit in all day, and that's what got us over the line.
It's 200 games. Not many players play 200 games. What does it mean to you? What are you feeling now?
Yeah, it's just sunk in now. It's just a great feeling. I love coming out with the boys every week, and great. 200 for this great club, and hopefully a few more to come yet.
The legs are starting to age. You've got to buy next week. What are you going to get up to?
I'll duck back to Adelaide with the little fella and just hang out with the grandparents there and take a pretty quiet month. I'm getting a bit older.
200 games, great effort. Go and enjoy it.
Thanks, guys. Cheers, mate.
Seems like a genuinely good bloke, doesn't he? Yeah.
Just had really the one bad game this year against the Tigers, but he's had to carry a big load, of course, with the injury to Ted Richards, the concussion. And as we mentioned earlier, started as a forward and kicked 3 goals in his first game.
Yeah, he was very good that night, and then he fell away a little bit and got reinvented as a key backman. He's a midfielder who's as big as any key position player with Barry Hall now.
He certainly is, Dermot. Well, this is a danger game coming in. Melbourne in really good form. It was a game you must win, and you certainly did it in style.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be a tough game, and both teams with the bye next week, so you really want to go into that with a win, and they've got a lot of good young talent, and we knew it was going to be tough, so we're able to come out and resurrect the things we didn't get right last week.
Got a really good habit of bringing players in. Nan Curvis was good in the first half. Towers was fantastic for you today. You bring players in and they just perform.
Yeah, it's been really positive for us the whole year. The guys that have been able to come in, having not much experience and have a real impact on the game. And some of those guys have played in big games now and have stood up. So it's a real positive for the club, and it's great for the fans too.
Let's kick this high score in what was looking like it was going to be a low-scoring day. The floodgates open late, and to kick a high score in these sort of conditions, pretty good effort.
Yeah, it is, especially against a team such as the D's. As you said, they're up and about at the moment. They're been playing some really good footy. So we knew it was going to be a tough contest, and we knew that it was going to have to take a 4-quarter effort, which was positive.
Great performance. Go and enjoy it.
Thanks, mate. Thanks a lot.
6-goal final quarter from the Sydney Swans. And there's big smiles around. Must be a great feeling to have the win going into the bye too, as Josh referred to.
Oh yeah, you always want the win into the bye, because sometimes if you don't get it, the coach says you're not going away.
All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll get back here for plenty more at the SCG. Triumphant the Swans by 55 points over the D's. What an afternoon for Heath Grundy. 200 games, and you can see what he means to his teammates. All smiles down there. A very tough afternoon. The old trousers almost slipping down a bit as they take him off the ground. Bit inglorious, isn't it, for your 200th celebration? But he won't be complaining. I'm sure there was times along the way he thought he wouldn't get this far, but he certainly has, and has been one of the most outstanding defenders of the competition this season. And he celebrates in style. The 30-year-old, 12-14-86, 6-goal last quarter. They really killed Melbourne's spirit in that final term.
A goal a quarter for the D's is not going to cut it against the Sydney Swans. They had a few opportunities. They had a fair bit of ball for the first 10 minutes of the match. Then the midfield of the Sydney Swans just got on top, and we see that in the end, Josh Kennedy 28, Hanbury 28, also Towers 27. But McVeigh's possession count in the back line of 25 was really pivotal in the outcome of this match. 4
goals isn't going to win you too many games. The Demons just didn't have enough ways to get forward. Certainly from a statistical point of view, the Swans were able to dominate most of the key categories, although it's interesting, isn't it? Melbourne have ended up with 51% of time in forward half. But the tackles, record number of tackles from the Sydney Swans.
Yeah, look, the pressure, you're going to have a lot of tackles in a game like today, because the ball just slips another foot to a person, you tackle, it slips out again, you tackle. That's a great indicator of where they started to dominate. I thought once that happened, they were so clean with their hands. Kennedy, Hanbury, McVeigh was sensational off halfback, but they were better. We can see now.
Can you just count them for us, Shorey?
Yeah, 155.
So this is Sydney going to the right-hand side of screen, and you're looking where they're laying these tackles. A lot of those, you see them around the outside near the boundary. They're boundary line throw-ins. It drops at the feet. You lay another tackle in there, but good spread right across the deck.
All right, well, Buddy Franklin, of course, we talked about during the game. He got to his 750th today, which is terrific, with 4 goals. But he's one of those forwards who you don't count out in the wet weather, because he's not necessarily a high-marking forward that relies on those beautiful conditions.
No, look, it was a difference in the game, really. You had Hogan and Dawes up the other end. They just don't turn their players around. You know, Buddy is good at the ground level for a man of his height, and he just also got on the lead. And they hit him a couple of times with nice passes. You know, you got the Joe the Goose there, but yeah, and this is one of those passes, and you still got to convert. It's wet weather, and he did that pretty well, Derm. He massively talented man, and that was a difference. Their forward setup had a lot more flexibility than Melbourne, I thought, on the whole day.
Well, they only kicked it about 35%, the D's, with their goal tally, whereas the Swannies went almost about 48%. So when it comes to accuracy in wet weather, it is really important, and he actually kicked very well today.
And the contrast, as we said, between the functioning of the forward lines, whether it's the pressure up the ground, but being able to take marks inside forward 50 on a day like today, Swans were able to do it 10 times and score 4 goals from it.
They're all, none in the goal square, but they're all pretty deep.
Yeah, and the thing about it was that they somehow they got a player behind their defender where Melbourne couldn't do that, and it was always the Swannies players like Rampy or McVeigh were behind the line, and then they threw Rowan down in the last quarter. Melbourne couldn't emulate. I thought they played in front too much, probably.
The one thing I reckon, and it's not as if Franklin was best on the ground, but he changes the dimensions of a game. In wet weather, you can play him up in the forward line, and you only need 2 other forwards. Heaney and maybe run somebody else. So you're playing a 3-man forward line. Take the 4th bloke, put him behind the ball, and take the 5th and 6th bloke and put them in the middle of the ground to come in off the square, and they bash up the opposition. Franklin, just by his presence, changes the dimension of your setup.
They've got some stars, the Swans, that's for sure. And one of Buddy's good buddies is Dan Hanbury, and he's down with Barry Hall.
Yeah, and it's terrible today condition-wise, but you seem to love the rain. You played pretty well in the end.
I think the guys really set themselves. We know we were disappointed last week with our effort against the Giants, and trained really hard this week to get a few things right. They're a good side, Melbourne. They challenge us at different stages, but I thought Joey Kennedy and Parks and these sort of guys set the tone inside, and a lot of the other guys like your Zach Jones and whatnot followed suit. 155 tackles, that's a record ever recorded. So tackling is obviously a really big part of your game. Yeah, it is. I think in these conditions you've got to put pressure on, because you never know. You're never out of the kindness, the ball keeps spilling. So I think really pleasing. I think we had 78 at half time, so you're really investing your effort for that last quarter, and I think we got a bit of reward, 6 goals in the last quarter for that hard work we put in the first 3 quarters.
We see all the guys that come into this side, they just have an immediate impact. Dean Towers again today was fantastic. Lear's been a good player for you. Just you seem to find these players.
I mean, Lear and Dino and these guys have trained really hard and been playing consistent reserves footy when they haven't been playing seniors. So to come in and play roles, we're not surprised they're doing it, but it's wrapped and it's great reward for effort for those guys, and they looked right at home. What was the wash up? You just had a meeting with Horsey. Happy? Yeah, he's happy. Just we put ourselves in a good position. Really important that we get our mental and physical rest now and recharge the batteries and look to have a really strong second half of the year. You're going to get a rest. What are you going to do? Yeah, actually going to go play some rounds of golf for the old man. So looking forward to it. Good man. Thanks, Baz.
Well, let's hope the weather clears up for the rounds of golf for Dan Hanbury and the old man. But look, they are well positioned, aren't they? A second place on the ladder, 40 points, just 3% or not even behind Geelong. And the Demons, now that gap is a pretty telling one. They're 2 games and a fair bit of percentage behind Adelaide, who have a game in hand.
So if you're Sydney, you're aiming for top 4. And once you've secured your 10 wins and you can start looking at 17 or 18 wins for the year, you're starting to think top 2. And for a non-Victorian team like Sydney, that is so advantageous.
Yeah, I just wonder, where do you have them ranked, the Swans, at the moment?
Oh, they're up there. They're up there. They're playing, and like Dermot said, if you qualify and you get the chance to play a final here, when was the last time they got beaten here? I think Noah was around. But anyway, but that's
I think Noah was around today.
Yeah, he was. He was. Matter of fact, he should have been. But yeah, look, they are a side that it was disappointing last week. This is McVeigh now. Clean. People saying wet weather, brings everybody back to the pack. But the one thing he's got is a great one grab player in the dry, and in this sort of weather, he was the one. He was the difference. He's look at that. That's a lot of players would have taken 3 grabs at that ball. He held up across halfback. He still played on a man, but he knows when to go off. He knows when to play in front. He knows when to come off the pack to link up. And of course, he a couple of score assists in there, but very talented. I thought he was best on ground. I know Buddy had an influence with the 4 goals, but I thought he was best on ground by far.
Yeah, made a slow start to the season, didn't he, coming off the injury, so he's found some of his best form. What about Melbourne? I mean, they'll be disappointed, obviously, with the final margin blowing out to 55. They did show in some passages of play that they could match it with the Swans, but I mean, their best players are still mainly the young players, other than, say, a Bernie Vince, and maybe just the Swans, the expertise the Swans had, and their best players still being their experienced players. Just too much for them in these conditions.
Vince, Viney and Jones gave their all in the middle. And I'm not going to hang the kid because he's just in his first year, but Clayton Oliver looked a little off it compared to a very big, powerful, very experienced midfield today. So you get -1 in the midfield, and that really hurts you when Sydney got everyone as a contributor in there.
And you put Bernie Vince under the microscope today as well, playing that same role as McVeigh, but at times not having the same effect.
Yeah, well, look, McVeigh was brilliant, and Vince was a good player, but I think sometimes, you've got to win games. I don't think they threw him into the midfield quick enough because he can score a goal. He's a long kick, penetrating kick, and he's a smart player. But
is he in trouble with his job? Is he in trouble, do you think?
Well, anything to go with the head, you just got to be a bit worried about it, don't you? And he's gone down, Parker. He did get up and take his kick, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And it's hard in the wet weather because, like Dermy said, you don't go off the line as quick as you're
on course.
Yeah, you're on course and it's harder to shift.
The ball was there before it squeezed through and out the back. So will they say he committed to that line? The one thing they will say, which is overarching of all that, he chose to bump. So let the bumper beware.
All right, well, one thing as far as the future goes for Melbourne, they do have some terrific young talent. And Christian Petrarca, again, showed that he is something special with a couple of things he did in the first half.
That's a super goal, Shorey.
Oh, it was just power, wasn't it? The power to get it up quickly from the man who was going to spoil. And he did this, he kept the ball alive, and I don't think he kicked this goal. Oh, yes, he did. He kicked that goal in the end because he had to run back towards goal and the pressure. I cannot wait to see him play a lot more in the midfield because he'll be a bull at the contest. And they've got a number of those types, but I think he'll be also cover the ground a lot more than some of those. I think Melbourne need a little bit more class out of those contests. They're good and they're hard, but they need a bit more class.
Finals next year for Melbourne, do you think? Is this year beyond them?
Oh, I think so. I think so.
It's going to be tough, but you're probably going to know within the next 4 weekends. For sure.
Simon Goodwin in long conversation there with 2 of the stars, Jones and Viney. The Swans got it done today here at the SCG, and the final margin was 55 points. They'll enjoy the song, I'm sure, after all that toil in the rain. All right, well, the Swans are certainly one of the contenders for the premiership, and on the couch on Monday night, I'm sure the boys will be looking at their chances along with all the others that have put up their hand this weekend. And the special guests keep on coming on the couch. It's must-watch TV every Monday at 8:30. Brownie usually sits rather than take a screamer on the couch, but the boys will have plenty to say. What do you think's been the biggest story? I mean, obviously the biggest story from the weekend is what happened post-match on Friday night with Brad Scott, but from a footy point of view. Geelong's big win last night over the Dogs.
That was massive, but I just thought the Friday night game was a really good game. You know, I thought North didn't take their chances, but I just loved the game in entirety. A lot of pushing and shoving, but it got back and it kept going for the whole game, so the pressure was on, and I just loved that sort of football for that period of time.
For me, I've said all season, I think the Sydney Swans' best footy is competition's best. Now I'm starting to think Geelong's best footy is equal competition's best. So if they both play at their best, Geelong and Sydney are the two best capable at this point in time.
What about the Giants? They're about to play Essendon.
Their best footy's not far behind.
And they go. Well, they made the Swans look pretty ordinary.
Yeah, they
did. Last week. So I like the Giants.
They're so fast.
But the Bullies, a question mark on the Bullies too. Like, they had opportunities too. They missed some goals they should have kicked, but they didn't look like winning that game though at the end.
Maybe the lack of personnel's caught up with them, the injuries they've had a little bit, and of course there's the bye period coming up, so they can get some more of their stars back. And of course, Derm doesn't want to talk about Hawthorn, but they just keep winning. They're very well positioned.
Gone. I just want to give a little pat on the back too for James Rose. That's only a handful of games in his career as well. He was very good again today.
Starting to blossom, Derm.
Yes. Yeah, there you go.
Boom. That's a poor way to finish off the afternoon. Great win for the Sydney Swans, though, by 55 points. Tough one for the Demons. Big clash coming up. The Giants.